gale force, but they are seriously hot, hence half the problems.
Yeah, and this is the issue. So we're going to be revisiting that. We're also going to be tackling AI, as we heard Keir Starmer.
A1, as I always call it. Yeah.
Did you? I watched his speech. I torture myself with that awful voice. But anyway, and he was asked several times about if he was going to be selling our private NHS data, and he did not answer it, which leads me to believe
he is going
to sell it.
If he promises something, he will do the opposite.
So I'm wondering how we feel about that.
Stick with Petrie. She'll take you through to 10 o'clock. I'll be back tomorrow at 7 p.m. Be there.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello and a good evening to you, even though it's Monday and we're all feeling a bit Monday-ish, aren't we? But listen, I've got a packed show for you. It's all going to kick off. So at midnight, the phone-in actually is about AI, because so frustrating watching politicians being interviewed at the moment, because they just don't answer the question. And even though another journalist will say, you didn't answer that question, so I'll ask it again, they still don't answer it. And that was where Keir Starmer nearly had a teddy bear thrown, well, a dog thrown, actually, at the at the television today, because it was just so annoying. But anyway, one of the questions he was asked a couple of times was, with this new AI drive, will you be selling our NHS data? Now, governments have got form for doing this before. They did it in 2015, if you remember. And what they were doing was selling our data without our permission. So I don't know how you feel about the NHS being mined, literally being mined to satisfy these AI giants. So the problem is, of course, we don't know what these AI giants are going to do with this information. Now, the theory is, of course, that they're just going to look at, I don't know, diseases that run in families or, you know, new ways of treating people, scans and things like that. But what if other people get hold of this? Insurance companies, for example, medical insurance companies for your home, we don't know. And they've got form for this. So if it does end up with insurance companies or things like that, you might not get life insurance because perhaps your family's got a history of heart disease. I don't know. But these are the things that concern me. These are the things that worry me. The other thing is he kept talking about all these new jobs, but he hasn't answered the question, will the new jobs equal the old jobs? So will people still be employed? This is a Labour government, Labour. It's about working people. So look, I want to know whether you fear or favour AI. And the other question, more pertinent, I think, is do we trust any governments, any of them, with our personal data? I don't trust that this AI won't be turned against us. This AI for potholes, for example, that'll be used on cars perhaps speeding or doing something, or I don't know. They'll use it for some other way of finding us. That's what I don't trust. I'm going to be talking to our futurist, Mal Fletcher, in a few moments' time, actually at the bottom of the half hour. But I do want to know from you where you stand on this. Do you trust any government with this level of AI? Do you trust that they will have our best interests at heart? Also coming up, that's at midnight. That's the phone in for us at midnight. Claire Muldoon, I think I've just seen her little face actually looking in the studio there. Claire Muldoon is back with us, popular demand or something similar. She'll be here at 11 o'clock to go through the newspapers. Alex Three Lions Irons will talk us through some latest sport. Like I said, Mal Fletcher will be here as well. But first, it's been nearly a week since the beginning of those deadly fires in Los Angeles and surrounding areas. Now, at least 24 people have lost their lives so far, and no clear end is in sight. It is incredible to think about these fires still burning after such a long time. There's also predicted to be at least another 23 people we've been told are missing, that they could end up on that fatalities list as well. The National Weather Service is predicting higher winds tomorrow than we saw at the beginning of these fires. So what exactly is going on? Of course, it's been politicised. Donald Trump saying that this should have been put out, could have been put out, probably would have been put out if he had been president. But is that really the truth? Well, let's talk now to somebody who has actually been caught up in this and herself had to evacuate her home at one point. Caroline Faraday, award-winning journalist in LA. Caroline, thank you for joining us. I know you've been incredibly busy with this story. It is devastating to us to think that this is happening and there's no end in sight, really.
Yeah, I think if you're not directly impacted, and even, you know, those of us that on, you know, thank goodness still got our homes, that you just feel so powerless and want to do things to help, don't know where to start. You're living like holding your breath, and that's one thing for like 1 or 2 days. And look, I think I'm a pretty resilient person. You know, I grew up in the 80s and 90s when we had, you know, IRA bombs and lots of terror threats. So like living with fear or being scared of things, you know, like, you know, or the 7/7 attacks, like I have experienced those in the past, and they were terrible and awful. But what feels to me really unprecedented in this situation is how long it's going on.
Yeah.
and just never having a second to kind of breathe out. And I just got a text from a friend of mine I used to live with, used to work with, because everybody's checking in on everyone, and none of us. I mean, it's impossible to even have a thought that isn't about the fires. Do you know what I mean? It's just so consuming. My sister's house in the Pacific Palisades burned to the ground. She's flipping out. She's so freaked out she can't even talk. Her house was everything to her. It was like part of her ego. I feel so sorry for her. No one should have to go through that. And that's the story, like thousands of times over, is people lost everything. Another friend, she went to work in the morning. Oh, there's a brush fire near your house. You can't go home. She never got to go home. She didn't even get to pull her belongings out. Another mum friend of mine from the school, her brother's lost everything. Like, it impacts the whole community. And people keep texting me saying, are you safe? Or you don't, it's just not the right word. Like, of course I'm grateful that I'm safe and alive, but it's so, I don't even really know how to put it into words, Petrie, because it just affects the community in such a whole way. And I'm looking out the window, and in fact I was out and about earlier, and it's already really windy, and we've got these PDS warnings, which is pretty dangerous, I don't know, situation or something. Anyway, and they're really rare. The last time we had one of those was 2020, before this event. And, we've got two large fires burning in LA, that they've done really amazing work. I cannot tell you how incredible the firefighters are. I can't even, they are unbelievable. But we've got we've got low humidity. We've got these really dangerous conditions starting up again. Everybody's scared. Is there a fire going to start in my house, or are these embers going to carry, or how are they going to continue fighting the ones that are still burning? That number I can see on the screen of 24 people killed, that number will go up. But listen, each and every single one of these stories that I'm hearing about how people died, I just heard someone talk about, they said her dad thought it would pass over, because in the past we've had fires in California, in Southern California, so people can get a bit blasé about them. I'm not saying that all these deaths are that. There was another mum, she was on the news. Her son, she had a disabled son, but an adult disabled son, who lived in like an additional dwelling unit on her, in the same property as her. So she couldn't lift him to get him out. She went to the fire station to get some help. By the time they came back, the place had burnt down and he was dead, Petrie.
Oh my God.
And that's the story over and over. Like,
it's just...
And one or two of these would be devastating, but I'm talking about thousands of people who have lost their homes. This 24 people killed, that's because what they have to do is in a very orderly manner, they make a grid and they check every single home. Is it burnt down? Is it safe to go in? And are there any dead bodies in there? They take cadaver dogs in. And can you imagine doing that on this scale? So that is just the reason that number's going to go up, is because they're a fraction of the way through that hideous task. So
I think what we find very difficult to understand here is how it's still going, how there's just small percentages of these fires still burning, and that they haven't been able to put it out. We just can't imagine the scale.
Imagine if all of Brighton and Hove was on fire, and if all of Eastbourne was on fire, and close by like that, so all the same resources, with winds fanning those flames, and not the kind of humidity that you've got in the UK, or buildings built the same as they are in the UK. Most of these are timber framed buildings because that's what they use here, and those are very great in an earthquake, terrible in a fire. So there's all this dry fuel that burns. I mean, it is a city built in a desert, right? It's not the same sort of landscape as the UK, but scale-wise, you're talking about not trying to get a fire out that's like affecting a cul-de-sac. You're talking about something that's the size of Brighton and Hove and also Eastbourne, and trying to get and then those firefighters working round the clock, like even just getting the bodies, they're exhausted, they're not sleeping, they're like, you know, I was driving up the freeway and there's firefighters from all these different counties here. We've got aircraft in from Canada, like they are throwing every single resource at it. And then what the priority becomes, I've learned a lot about fires, and I do as a reporter go out with the fire crews at less dangerous times. So I know kind of the training and what goes into it, and they're the best in the world. They know exactly how to do this. But when those winds were coming through at 100 miles an hour, they can't go and do the things like the retardant drops and the water drops, because number one, they can't get the aircraft up. Number two, even if they tried, there'd be no accuracy to those things. So they've done this very effective, they put retardant round it, which they've managed to get aircraft up to do. And it was really threatening the valley where a lot of people live. And they managed to kind of hold it off, so that they have different priorities. The priority isn't, can we get this fire out? The priority is, can we get a containment around it so that what's burning is brush and trees and not people's homes and properties or the loss of life.
But in these winds, you've got the fires jumping, haven't you? This is the problem.
Embers travel miles.
Yeah. The embers, just
but
anything.
If you see a house that's about to burn down, like the firefighters are first and foremost going to protect property and protect life and protect property, and there is no criticism that you could make of the fire service. They are unbelievable. Like I'm watching, because I'm a nerd, the flight radar app. It's fascinating viewing, because you can sit and watch it and you can see all the helicopters, and they pick up water and they go around, they dump their water and they pick up water. These guys are going at it and at it and at it in the most dangerous conditions, doing everything they can. But what they've got to kind of get is that fire line to kind of hold off. And then, I mean, the best thing that could happen is it rains. But I mean, the scale of it. So you've got to get on that kind of fire line and understand the way that fires behave. So fires behave in certain ways, but when there's winds, they behave in different ways. Like they like to go uphill, and various other kind of things, right? So they're kind of looking for ways to kind of break it and get a break in it. And then, so what they just need to do is hold it off from causing further property damage, and hold it off from doing, so that when they talk about containment, that doesn't mean it's 13% out.
No.
It means that they've managed to get a perimeter around it of 13%. So then once you can get a perimeter around it, so the Kenneth fire, which is the one I got evacuated for, they actually managed to get a perimeter around it quite quickly. I mean, days, but quite quickly, and get a kind of hold a fire line, and then they'll put like 400 firefighters there holding that line. I mean, that was impossible in the Palisades. There was just nothing that they could have done.
What is the state doing about the numbers, the thousands of people who are now homeless? I mean, what going forward? I know it's premature to talk about it because the fire is still raging, but how do you house that many people? A lot of people, we understand, weren't insured because of some technicality. How do you even begin to rebuild?
So it actually, we get federal aid to help with a lot of those things, because obviously the state or the various cities have no budget to kind of deal with this. So we've got some federal aid. At the moment, people are either with friends or family or in shelters. And people are desperate for a place to live, right? They're looking for rentals. There's all these laws on price gouging. None of that. Like, I mean, property in Los Angeles was expensive to start with, but if you go and sit and look through the Zillow, which is our right move, right, at like rental properties, people are putting thousands on the cost of their rentals.
It's disgusting, isn't it?
You've got a rental. Honestly, it's hideous. The idea that somebody would be out looting dressed as a fireman has blown my mind.
Absolutely, yeah.
But anyway, the insurance thing. So in these kind of, a lot of insurance companies pulled out of high fire risk areas. And I'm pretty sure that those insurance companies that made that decision are probably high-fiving each other right now about the fact that they didn't insure all those houses in Palisades and wouldn't insure them because they'd be looking at billions in losses. So they pulled out. People haven't got insurance. What the federal government are likely to do is offer sort of low-cost loans. And it's very easy to say a lot of people in the Palisades have money, right? But a lot of people don't. A lot of people might have lived there for years before it got fancy, or it's like a family home, right? Or people lived in apartments. And so, no, not everybody that lived in Palisades, which is a very nice area. Altadena, very different demographic, very much like working class, not nice, but affordable homes. And a very different demographic to Palisades, where you're talking about these multi-million-dollar homes. But they're only a fraction of it, though. So some of those people, yes, they can afford to figure it out. But fire's a great equalizer. It doesn't make any difference. Your kid draws you something when they're 3 years old and it goes up in a flame. You're not getting that back, no matter how many millions you've got in the bank, right? You're not getting those things back. So yeah, there's just so much to process. Even just thinking about kind of how would they clear it up, all these toxins that are in the air. People are absolutely begging to go back into their homes and see if there's anything, to kind of go through the rubble of what's there to see if they can find anything. Well, you can't have thousands of people going in where it's dangerous, there's power lines down. People have left like without their medication and things like that, like just real sort of basics. Property tax. I was just watching them talk about property taxes. These people are still going to have to pay property tax because all of that, the land their homes, even though their homes are burnt down, the land it's on is worth a fortune. So they're all still going to have to pay something like 2/3 of their property taxes anyway. I mean, I don't know where you even begin, other than being really grateful that you're still alive.
Yeah.
And like it gets back that. You go right down that hierarchy of needs, don't you?
Yeah.
You've gone from having this amazing life overlooking the ocean in Los Angeles to like right the way back to we've got what we're standing up in, and all I need right now is some toothpaste and a good night's sleep. No one's sleeping. The kids went back to school in some areas today. My daughter went back today. She was out last week. I took her, Petrie. I wanted to get out of town. I drove her up to Santa Barbara. It's about an hour north of me, about 2 hours north of LA, actually. Thinking we'll get some fresh air and we'll get away from the fires and this kind of horrible feeling. And we went to this kids museum, and they've got this big Lego. It's a lovely place called the Moxie. And she's playing with Lego. And I popped to the loo. When I came back out of Lego, she'd made a fire and a tanker and a fireman. So like, and she said, and you're like, so they're processing it too. You can't, you can't get emotional and you got to hold it together. The back of my car is still packed up because I see no point unpacking it. And I'm really well off in this situation. I'm really lucky and count my blessings. People have been like without power for days. I don't know if I'll have power. We haven't got power in the office at the moment. We've got a generator. Just everything is topsy-turvy. You don't know if you're coming or going. And then in the mix of this, like you're trying to keep everything a little bit of order for your kids and a little bit of routine for the kids. It was one of our best friends. It was her little girl's second birthday party yesterday, been planned for a month or so. This has happened, everybody cancels because you just can't. It's just overwhelming, really. It's 1 minute, it's not even one day at a time. You're just taking like an hour at a time. I heard the radio DJ on like the music station. She said, I'm just going to get through this one song at a time. She said, because my loved one, her boyfriend, she always talks about him on the radio, my boyfriend's house burned down. He lost everything, and then but we're all still having to go to work and try to function. And like I darted out of here, on whatever day it was, Thursday. I genuinely don't know what day of the week it is, but I think it was Thursday when the fire broke out near ours and we got evacuated out. And then there was like an hour and a half to do like a 20-minute journey you know, I count all my blood, and like my eyes are streaming and itchy, and I'm not, and I have no complaints, really. Everything's okay, but you can't, you just, you know.
Well,
and
you're
I'm a resilient
community.
person.
Oh,
I'm a
Caroline.
really resilient person, but it's a lot.
It's a lot, and I saw you doing an interview on another channel the other day, and I was literally choked up for you. I was really sad.
You.
Listen,
I do think it means a lot that people care, and like, you know, with people, I have heard a couple of places people say, "Oh, it's all rich LA." It isn't.
No.
And honest.
And anyway, like you said, if you lose something, you've lost it. My heart breaks for all of you. I wish there was something more we could do here. But listen, we'll speak very soon. You take care. Caroline Faraday there. Incredible. Just the way she told that story. Absolutely heartbreaking. I've got to take a quick break. Back in a second.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hi there, and a very good evening to you. Yeah, coming up at midnight, what I want to talk to you about is this new AI drive that is going to be happening. Ministers are preparing to open up the UK's vast store of NHS health data to big tech companies in an effort to put Britain at the heart of the global AI revolution. Now, we are rightly, in this country, very sensitive about our private information. And it doesn't get more private than NHS data. All of your files, your scans, your blood tests, your everything being given to AI in order for it to learn about different diseases, different blood tests, all the things. Now, on the face of it, on the surface of it, it looks a pretty decent thing to do. But actually, I remember the last time this was done, and it must have been the 2015 sell-off when we weren't asked about it. 1.6 million people had their data. And they said, oh, it's all anonymised. And it wasn't. And that's the point. That's the problem that I have with it. When they say anonymised, they simply mean... There was who was it that I interviewed at the time who said, I took loads of this bits of data and I thought I'm going to try and jigsaw it together and find out who these people are, find out their names. And he was able to do that with every single one. He was able to find the names, find everything about that person, their age, all of this. And actually, because AI will need to know the age of somebody and the gender of somebody and the area in which they live, which does make a difference to your health, that's not anonymised. That really isn't anonymised. And when Keir Starmer was asked several times today, will you be selling the data? They've done it before for 330 million to one company. You can bet that this NHS data, which is possibly the most valuable health data and the most conclusive health data available in the world, that has got a price to it. That has got a value to it. And because he didn't answer it, my immediate reaction was, ha-ha. You didn't say, no, we're not going to be we're going to be giving this away. No, he's going to be selling this. I promise you, this will be sold. It's been done before, right? So I just wonder how you feel about that, because when they say anonymised, do not trust it. It is not anonymised. It certainly wasn't last time. And they said, no, we're going to take careful control of this. What if this information gets into the hands of insurers? And I'm talking about having your house insured, having your, if you want to have health insurance, having your health insured, getting your car insured. All of these things, if they can see that John Smith, age 51, has had a heart attack in the past and is now going for car insurance 3 years later when he's been cleared by his doctors or whatever, if the insurance company's got hold of that information, they're not going to insure you. They're just not. And that's my concern, is I do not trust government with this level of information. And when they're talking about massive data storage areas, every single thing about every single one of us will be stored in those data centres. And that is what concerns me. I'd like to hear what you think, how you believe that our information will be used. If you think it will stop just with companies wanting to figure out a bit of health stuff from the NHS, because I don't trust it. I don't, and I have every reason not to, because what's happened before will happen again. Give me a call. I'd love to hear from you on this. 0344 499 1000. Calls charged at national rate. And so too are the texts. Text the word talk and your message to 87222.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hi there, and a good evening to you. So today, the Prime Minister said that artificial intelligence is a defining opportunity of our generation as he set out plans to use the technology to boost growth. At a speech in London, he acknowledged concerns. So, yeah, there are some concerns. But he said the battle for jobs of tomorrow is happening today. But what is the government AI plan, and how will it affect your private data? Well, let's talk to Mal Fletcher now, a futurist, the futurist for me, to talk about this. Mal, we've had many a conversation about AI. I felt the Prime Minister was quite blasé about the concerns today. I thought he was extremely blasé about privacy, and equally not answering questions on whether he's going to monetise the NHS data, which, of course, he is.
Yes, hi, Petrie.
Hi.
Good to be with you again. Look, our Prime Minister sounds blasé, I think, even when he's not. But just the other day, I happened to be speaking with an MP about AI, and he told me quite honestly he didn't know much about it, but was eager to learn more. And he's not alone. You only have to look at the questions MPs ask in parliamentary committee sessions to see how little most of them know about the ethical issues that AI raises, like data privacy, and how quickly AI is actually developing. And now, today, we're being asked to believe that this government can guarantee our privacy, as you were saying. It's wanting to open its data banks to AI developers, and we're being asked to believe that big tech can and will basically regulate itself when it comes to AI. What's more, it seems the government's betting big time on the fact that AI will, at least in the short term, add more than it takes away on the employment front. And we know that techs do lead to new types of work. But with AI, the question is, can we adjust quickly enough to take advantage of those jobs before they're gone too? Now, I'm no Luddite. You and I know each other a bit. I'm an advocate for AI, and I'm pleased the government's prioritising tech. But its plans are pushing way ahead of the capacity of either government or the public to understand AI, or even to talk about how we're going to generate the massive amounts of energy that are needed to sustain it.
That was going to be my next point, is that it feels to me like they're putting the cart before the horse, because we're going to need multiple high-powered nuclear generators to provide enough fuel for these data centres. Plus, I was hearing the other day that they will use up half of the water, of Britain's water, just to generate the energy to fuel these places. There's been nothing said about increasing our water security, nothing that's been said about how soon these small nuclear power stations they're talking about can be built and will be built. And yet we're supposed to believe that this AI technology can run on windmills.
Yes, well, it won't be run on renewables, not at the scale they're talking about. In fact, even the scale we use today, we're falling behind now with energy provision. And I don't know if you've ever seen one of those data banks they keep talking about, those data farms. We have one about 5 minutes from our home where I'm sitting right now, and it looks like Starlag 13. I mean, they're the most ugly stains on the landscape that you can think of. And I happen to know that they're looking at building a whole bunch of them out where we are. So we're not too happy about that. But what's happening, I think, is government is getting enthusiastic about tech without the healthy degrees of skepticism that have to be added to that enthusiasm, so that AI offers us more than just economic gain, which is what the Prime Minister's on about. It needs to promote also the common good on many other levels, such as human rights and human autonomy and privacy and the security of data. I mean, imagine that a foreign power that has ill intent toward the UK were able to get a hold of the data, even the anonymised data, if it were to be so, and the patterns that they could spot in that, and they could then decide to target us in the areas of our health vulnerabilities, perhaps with the NHS. So there could be disastrous results that we haven't even given thought to yet.
I was going to come to that about privacy. And it beggars belief to me that a Prime Minister can stand in front of the nation and promise that it will always be in control of that data, because you and I both know that once it ends up on AI, it is no longer controllable. It isn't controllable by anybody, by any human being. So how is he expecting us to believe that this so-called anonymised data, which I know for a fact has to be not very anonymised to be useful, right? You need somebody's age, you need somebody's gender, you need to know where somebody lives, because that has perhaps not their address, but certainly the area in which they live. It is very simple to work out, I've had people do it before, who those people are, this so-called anonymised data. And once it's out there, it's out there. How are we meant to believe that our privacy and our security is going to be protected when it can't be?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see any reason why we should trust any government at the moment, because they're not up to date with AI. That's what concerns me. And it's not just the collection of the data and the storage of it, it's the fact that it's being used in certain ways. I mean, we know that there could be great benefits, for example, in the NHS with surgical robots. But there are questions we haven't asked yet, and the government isn't asking yet, about ethical questions about whether AI-powered robots make ethical decisions in complex situations. And as robots and things like that become more integrated into our lives and our health services, for example, how can we trust them to keep our data private, those individual entities? It's vital that we emphasize transparency, accountability, and human values in the way we use AI and the way we use data to develop AI.
I mean, it's kind of like the autonomized cars that they wanted to use, and giving them a moral judgment. If you're going down the road and there's a 90-year-old man who might be the greatest poet that ever lived walking down the road, and there's a young mother and her child, which one do you run down? And the car will go for the 90-year-old because it doesn't have the moral judgment or whatever to be able to make those decisions correct. Not that I'm suggesting they should mow down the child and the baby, but the point is that if it's left to a computer to decide, then where is this human touch that, again, the Prime Minister was talking about?
Yeah, that's true. And I think the whole area of using AI to develop things like robots and implants, human implants, all of that could be very helpful with treatments. But we have to ask the big question, the biggest question of all, I think, with all of this is, where do we draw the line between human and machine? As we increasingly invite tech into our bodies with things like neural implants, we lose sight of what sets humanity apart from its tools. Is that line even important anymore? I happen to think it is, and I think a lot of people will. There are also questions about informed consent, about use of data, and the use of data to create AIs. For example, with brain implants, how do we know that an aging person has given their consent to receive this kind of treatment? There's the question of access to technology that comes out of this. Are we creating new technology gaps with AI so that you have the AI haves and the AI have-nots, those who have access and those who don't? And once again, that question of susceptibility to cyber attack, either from outside governments or terrorist units, or just people in corporate life who want to take our data without our permission. And technology creep, you and I have talked about before, where we introduce a tech for one purpose and it's very quickly used for another purpose over which we have no control and to which we haven't consented. So I'm not against putting AI and its technologies high on the list of priorities, but I don't think we can be promising things we can't deliver unless we discuss the ramifications of data usage and AI.
Now, the Prime Minister also said, look, he is, if we don't get ahead of this, then we're behind it. And I kind of understand that in business terms. But the danger of racing ahead with no control. So Rishi Sunak, the last government, they started this conversation about the dangers of AI, and we need to understand it fully, and we need to understand what's going to happen with it. Is there a point at which we will understand what AI can and will do? Because again, once it begins to learn by itself without our help, for example, then we don't know where it's going to go. So will we ever feel safe? Will we ever have a security network around us?
Well, I think we'll get more familiar with AI products and tools over time. We are already in some regards. But take, for example, what we call healthcare autonomous robots. These are robots working in the healthcare system, or they will be, that can make some decisions on their own. They'll use what we call AI agents, these programs that call upon hundreds of online tools to help them make decisions without much human intervention. And, hospitals could even use humanoid robots like Tesla's Optimus robot, which has a sort of human appearance to it to some degree. They could be used and be very helpful in therapy and aftercare. But when that happens, administrators and technologists will really need to take into account the mental health impact of human-like machines. We have a thing we know in psychology called the uncanny valley effect. When we first interact with a machine that looks and acts like a human, our first reaction is mostly positive, if only because of the novelty of it. But as the machine's capabilities become more and more human-like, we feel a growing sense of unease, and that uncanny feeling can lead to anxiety and even depression and many other health issues that we know of. So it's those sorts of things that we're going to have to look at, and we haven't really even begun yet to dig into them.
What would be the greatest concern for right now with all these data centres being built and all this information? I mean, my fear is that this NHS information gets into the hands of insurers. I've said that, and it's not beyond reason to believe that could happen. But AI will be used against us as much as it'll be used for us. For example, AI tracking our movements, AI issuing tickets, AI punishing us, AI, and without that human aspect, not being able to figure out if what we'd done wrong was actually for good or for bad. For example, stopping to pick up a woman who's fallen over and getting a parking ticket, right? A human being could see that was necessary. The AI will just say, no, you stopped and that's it. You're getting the fine. So that fear for me is that it will be used as much against us as it will be for us.
Well, there is that danger, and that's why we need to have those widespread or broad umbrella debates about the ethics of AI. We haven't done that yet. We've had technicians meeting with government officials in talk fests that are closed off to anybody else. There are no biologists, there are no philosophers, there are no engineers, there are no architects, there are no theologians. No one else is allowed into those discussions, which are really talking about what it means to be human, as I said before. So there are benefits that we'll get from AI, but they'll only come as we set limits, not just through regulation, but through widely agreed systems of ethics. Government and tech developers will need to take a lot more care to explain what AI might bring and under what conditions. And it hasn't done anything like that yet. As I said, governments have to mix enthusiasm about tech with healthy amounts of skepticism so that AI offers us more than economic gain. That's what scientists are doing. People that invented AI have greeted it in some regards with enthusiasm and then mixed it with skepticism when they realise how much power it might have.
Mal, it's always fascinating to talk to you, although I don't sleep very easily after I've done so. Good to speak to you, Mal Fletcher, futurist. Right, let's have a look at the past coming up. Well, that is Weekend Sport with Alex.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hi there, it's good to have your company. It's Petrie here with you until 1 o'clock. And coming up at the top of the hour, I know, Muldoon, she's back. So she'll be going through the papers. But first of all, let's find out about the weekend sport with Alex Three Lions Irons, a TalkSport presenter and producer. Hi there, Alex.
Good evening, Petrie. I can't compete with Muldoon.
No, you can't.
Have her on now.
Yeah, I know. She knows everything as well. So
yeah, exactly. Don't need me here.
Yeah. Well, listen, tell me about the managerial musical chairs. It's certainly the season for it, isn't it?
Well, every season seems to be the season for musical magical chairs. That's not quite right.
Musical managers.
Managerial musical chairs. There we go. So we had two changes in the Premier League with managers last week. First of all, we had David Moyes, who was sacked by West Ham in the summer. He has since rejoined Everton 11 and a half years after he left Everton to go and join Manchester United. He has called Everton's managerial job a different beast, and rejoining the club was too big of an opportunity to turn down. When he was at West Ham, he did win the Europa Conference League, and Everton fans will be looking for David Moyes to bring the good times back to Goodison Park for at least until the end of this season, and then when they move into their new stadium in the summer. Apparently, David Moyes revealed that he was close to coming back to Everton 3 or 4 times, and this move has happened really quickly after speaking to the new owner of Everton, Dan Friedkin, and his executive chair as well. Of course, Sean Dyche was the manager to have been moved out of the way at Goodison Park. He was sacked 3 hours before their FA Cup tie against Peterborough United, which Everton did go on to win 2-0, but it was so late until kickoff that the matchday programme that Everton was selling still had Moyes', not David Moyes, still had the previous manager's, his game notes, his matchday notes in the programme. So that was a bit of a weird circumstance of events. We also saw Graham Potter become the manager of West Ham the day after. He hadn't been in a managerial job for 2 years since being sacked by Todd Boehly at Chelsea. He had his first game in charge of West Ham against Aston Villa in the FA Cup on Friday, where they played pretty well, but they ended up being knocked out, losing 2-1 to Aston Villa.
Oh, yeah. Well, talking about being knocked out, Arsenal knocked out by Man United.
Yeah, who saw this one coming? So Arsenal were knocked out of the FA Cup by Manchester United on penalties. The winning penalty was scored by Joshua Zirkzee, as Manchester United were down to 10 men. They had one of their players sent off earlier on in the game in what was a bit of an FA Cup classic between the two sides, which saw Manchester United go through to the 4th round. It was Diego Darlow who was shown a second yellow card, having this time to tackle on Arsenal midfielder Mikel Moreno. But it was a pretty, interesting time. Manchester United went ahead first with a goal from Bruno Fernandes, and then Arsenal got back into it. They got an equaliser, and it looked like they were slowly starting to turn the screw. They got a penalty, which was saved by the Manchester United goalkeeper, who made a hero of himself, really. He's not their first team goalkeeper, Bayinda, who was in goal for Manchester United. Normally it's Onana who is in goal for Man U, but it was Bayinda, the reserve keeper, who stepped up and he made a real good account of himself. So it wouldn't surprise me if he was in between the sticks for not for the rest of the season, but we'll see him more and more as the season goes on, just on that appearance alone. What was nice about Arsenal's at least their kit appearance is that they had all of the red taken out of their kit. This was to promote a campaign against knife crime and people who, all the proceeds went to charity, to a knife crime charity. So that was nice to see, although a little bit annoying because it was white colours on a white kit and you couldn't read a bloody thing.
But listen, Man United will be happy with that, right? I mean, their fortunes seem to be very slowly turning.
Yeah, I'd say very happy. Normally we have seen, Manchester United not do particularly well. They didn't win a game throughout the whole of December. Of course, they put a good account of themselves against Liverpool a couple of weeks ago. But under their new manager, Ruben Amorim, he said that, there will be struggles and there will be some hardships, and I don't think Manchester United fans were expecting that to happen so quickly when he came in about a month or two ago now. But to come away against Arsenal with a win, it took penalties to do so. Of course, the draw has been made, and they'll be happy to be through into the next round. And normally Manchester United make a good account of themselves in the FA Cup as well. Of course, they got all the way to the final, and they won it last year as well. So just after just scraping by against Championship side Coventry City, Manchester United have been drawn at home to Leicester City, which is a pretty good draw for Manchester United. It's not an easy draw, but Leicester are a Premier League side, but they're not doing particularly well. So Man United fans will be licking their lips at that one, I think.
Listen, a win's a win, isn't it? Whether it's by penalties
exactly.
or not. I was absolutely shocked to my core to see that Tyson Fury has retired from boxing again. Do we believe him? I mean, how many times? Is that 3 times now?
I think this is the second time that he's retired now. I don't believe him either. You don't. I don't think anybody believes him.
You can't cry wolf the whole time and then just go into another fight.
Even Eddie Hearn has said that he's questioned whether or not Tyson Fury will be retiring. Of course, Eddie Hearn promotes Anthony Joshua, and there's been talk of those two having a fight at some point this year, regardless of what happened between Tyson and Usyk at the end of last year. Maybe this is Tyson Fury's way of getting out of that fight, or maybe he's going to do the whole, I'm retiring, oh wait, no, I'm going to come back for one last fight and keep fighting for a couple of more years. But he is 36 now, so in regards to being a professional athlete and as a boxer, he is starting to get on a bit. He did previously announce his retirement after beating Dillian White in 2022, but returned 6 months later. So the clock is on how long it will take between now and the next 6 months to see whether or not Tyson Fury is going to retire for good or come back and fight Anthony Joshua.
It'll be money, won't it? He's raising his value by saying he's retired, and then somebody will go, well, if we pay you $1 million, will you come back? And he'll say yes. Someone
in Saudi Arabia will go, we'll give you, I don't know, half a country. Yeah. And they'll go, okay, fine. I'll throw in Morecambe as well, and I'll be back.
I'd just love to see you face to face with Tyson, telling him he's past it now. Telling me he's over the hill.
It'll more be fist to face, I think.
Yeah,
more
I don't think you'd survive that one.
I'm about a foot smaller than him, and he will just punch me in the face.
Djokovic, talk me through. He's won his first match with Andy Murray as his coach.
Yeah, he has, and he said it's a bit weird having him there. He came from a set down to win his opening round in the Australian Open match. That's his first victory with 3-time Grand Slam champion Andy Murray in his coaching box. He beat American Nishes Basavaridi 4-6, 6-3, 6-4, 6-2. He enlisted the help of his long-term rival as he pursues a record-extending 11th Australian Open title, as well as a 25th major, which would put him clear of Margaret Court's in terms of all-time victories. Although he said it's a bit weird, he's also said that he's thrilled to have him in his corner, and he'll also play Jaime Ferreira of Portugal in the next round at Melbourne Park, who'll be his next opponent. So, yeah, it's good to see that Andy Murray is still keeping himself busy. Of course, he retired at the Olympics last year, which feels like a lifetime ago already. It was only back in August. I
was reading something over the weekend that said that Andy Murray might come back to the court. Even though he's retired.
No, I don't. There's got to be a point where professional athletes have got to retire for good, regardless of whether it's Andy Murray or Cristiano Ronaldo or Fury or whoever, to let the new guys come through. Otherwise, it's just going to be the same big names that we've seen when we were younger, 20-odd years ago, still winning the same things over and over again, and nothing really progresses. So, and of course, their bodies aren't going to last forever. There's going to get to a point where if they do keep playing, they're just going to play at a lower and lower level, and not really, they won't want that, and I don't think anybody in regards to fans will want to watch them at those levels either.
No, I suppose you don't want to go out like a damp squib, do you? You want to go out
exactly. Go out on a high.
Go out on a high. They've been saying that to me for years of my career.
And me.
I'm waiting till I reach that high, and then I'll think about it.
I know I've got a long way to go. So.
Alex, great to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Alex, 3 Lions Irons, TalkSport presenter and producer, taking bets now as to how long Tyson Fury will stay retired. Right, coming up, Claire Muldoon.
the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
I know, unbelievable. Hello, it's Petrie here. And I'm really pleased to have your company as we go through the newspapers. It won't surprise anybody to learn that the person I was just chatting to there is my great friend, Claire Muldoon.
Well, you've reached your high now, haven't you? With me on.
Yeah, I mean, look.
I mean, that's it, QED now.
And we're both wearing these sort of duo black shirts. So it looks like, I do apologise if you're watching this thinking, oh my God, they look
like Undertakers.
I know, we do a bit. Anyway, it is...
Here and, what were they called? The Undertakers. The famous
gosh, I can't remember.
Here and Burkett and Hair.
Burke and Hair.
Burke and Hair,
I think it was.
There we are.
Yeah, that's who we are. I'll be Hair. Look, I've just been talking, Claire, about AI, because, of course, we know the Prime Minister did his big speech. I have a lot of concerns about what AI will be used for, and I do predict that it will be used as much against us as it will be to support us. And that terrifies me. But also the idea of the Prime Minister... He will sell our data. The reason he didn't answer those questions earlier on, will you sell it? Will you make money out of the data?
Well, you see, it won't be him selling it. It'll be the companies that... The technical term for storage of
NHS
data like this is called horizon planning.
Horizon.
And they have been researching this for at least the past 10 years, if not more. So
the government did
think they
make
know
money.
what they're doing.
The 330 million contract which the NHS awarded to a US company. This data is incredibly valuable.
Of course it is.
And
it maps every one of us
throughout our whole lives.
Throughout our whole lives.
What concerns would you have with this so-called anonymising of medical data, which is incredibly private to all of us?
Well, to extend the graveyard analogy, I've got grave concerns about it, Petrie, because it's just not on. In order to capture any data and to anonymise it within the NHS, if doctors are discussing patients over email, the subject matter will be date of birth, hospital number, initials.
That's not
That's the data. That's not anonymised. It really isn't. But in order for the data to have any worth, they need that information as well as sex, as well as, well, date of birth's a thing one, and also postcode. Because if you look at the data that has been stored since COVID, since the lockdowns, since year dot, actually, from the Office of National Statistics, that data is all given geographically, via postcode, via your demographic, your social demographic, because everyone's got those letters and then those numbers in a letter in their mail, which shows what social strata you are in terms of what credit you can get, for instance, or who's going to knock at your door. The data, the information is all there.
And it has to be, and this is the point I've been making, is that it is useless without that, because you need to know somebody's gender, you need to know somebody's age, you need to know where they live.
Yeah.
But
call it like a census, because that's what it is.
It's absolutely worthless without it. So if it was just patient A, heart condition, you need to know how old that person is, you need to know
existing comorbidity, where they live, weight, all of that information.
All of that is important. And my concern as well, Claire, is that the Prime Minister's suggesting that this information, he's going to keep control of it. Well, once it goes to AI, he's lost control of it.
He's lost it, because again it goes back to that horizon planning, and it's the storage of the data that I've got grave concerns about as well. Do we trust them? Who is it? Which country will all this data be kept? Will it be kept offshore? I mean, these people might think, oh, what is she talking about? Actually, it will come home to roost.
Well, you worked at the NHS, didn't you? So you know about the anonymisation or not of data.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And it doesn't work.
Look, we've got to... I do agree with the Prime Minister.
It was Rishi Sunak that actually started all of this off.
But he started it off by saying we have to take control of this. He was much more, let's talk about this first before we do it. Keir Starmer's all hell for leather going ahead. And look, I get the point in that we're either ahead of this or we're behind it.
Yeah.
But as I was just talking to Mal Fletcher, he made a very important point, and that was that all these scientists and politicians who don't know the science talk in a room. There's not a priest there. There's not an ethics, somebody to deal with the ethics of this, morality. There's no psychologist.
They will say that there are.
But that you need somebody to talk about what are the morals of AI.
Well, you're hardly going to get that from Keir Starmer, are you?
No.
Or an introduction of any form of a moral compass.
But, I mean...
He doesn't have one.
I mean, and look at AI, the so-called AI, again called Horizon, that destroyed all those people's lives.
Yes.
And the company was going, no, it's completely infallible. It's infallible. It wasn't.
Look, the NHS does not need any more data. Okay, we've had already data hacks and data risks, right?
And data sell-off.
The NHS does not need any more of that. It doesn't. All it needs is your NHS spine. Your NHS spine is your NHS number, and that should be with your GP. You have got the ability, not through the NHS app, because as Angela Varndell, one of your viewers, always tunes in to talk. She's a great supporter of the station. She said there's no way. She deleted her app because she's not happy with the way that the information is carried. And it's true, because the NHS spine is your NHS number that's held with your primary care provider, which is your GP. You've then got a secondary care provider in a hospital if you've got a referral. And then if you've got a tertiary issue, you need a tertiary super hospital to deal with you, then that's sent to them. There's no reason for it to go anywhere else. And the question has to be asked as well, why does it have to go anywhere else? Why are they basing these tests on the NHS?
Well, what they're going to do is they'll gather up all the information from the NHS and give it to an AI company or sell it.
To do what with?
The theory is that they'll look at a range of illnesses, a range of diseases.
History's been doing that from the year dot.
But AI will then start to say, which AI is doing it brilliantly at the moment. It's looking at drugs. It's able to read all the papers that doctors have written, all the medical stuff, and able to say, look, if drug A is used for disease A, it can also be used for disease C because they're a similar... so they're able to do that.
Well,
and that is a good thing.
I don't trust it. I really don't trust it.
Well, I don't trust the government because I think once this information, and I was saying earlier that insurance companies, if you've had, let's say, a heart condition and you're now cleared to drive or whatever, and an insurance company gets hold of that and says, I'm not insuring him.
That's my point.
Yeah.
So what is going to happen to this data? Why are they starting with the NHS? Why aren't they starting with...
Because it's our biggest resource of information.
No.
I know, Sherlock. But it was, when he was asked several times today, are you going to be selling this NHS data to these tech companies? And he refused to answer that.
Not his to sell.
No, but he thinks it is.
It's not his to sell.
He thinks it is. It's
our
ours.
data.
I know.
It's our data. Was he elected on that manifesto? Was he?
God knows why he was.
Oh, my goodness me.
I do find it terrifying. The other thing that is hidden in all of this is they want to loosen off the immigration rules because they're aware all these technical jobs that need to be filled, they won't be filled by British people mostly. They will be filled from people who've got that technical know-how from other countries. That's buried in this as well.
Excuse me.
You cough away, my love. Cough, 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 cough. It's fine. It's fine, I'll cover for you. La, 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 la.
Oh, my goodness me.
I know, I get that all the time. It's horrible.
Absolutely horrible.
Yeah. So, in a nutshell, with AI, obviously the future is going to be filled with AI. It already pretty much is, right?
Well...
Does that worry you? Does it scare you?
Yes, it does. In 2018 or 2019, I'm just going to read you a bit of this. This was the beginning of my dissertation outline for my master's. It started with the eponymous words, "The computer says no." Today, more than ever, our thoughts, desires, behaviours, and even our propensity to vote in a certain way have been aggressively stored by our extremely smart phones and devices out there in the ether. Not physically stored, I hasten to add, but by the use of artificial intelligence or AI. So in this research piece, I'd like to examine the metadata, etc., but in the conclusion is that many more questions. The subject of AI is a mammoth one, and one that will be difficult to tame. Many more questions will arise, and the difficulty, I believe, will be in taming the scope of this dissertation and to hopefully produce an original piece of work not driven by predictive text or artificially suggested intelligent ideas, and in the hope that I won't need to ask the computer for fear of the answer being no, or should I fear in totality? That's the question. Now, that was back in 2018?
Yeah. And those
7 years
questions,
ago.
Those questions
7 years
have
ago.
not been answered, and that's the problem. Still, we are waiting.
I'm a witch.
I know you are. I've always said you're a witch.
I know.
I know. Yeah, I'm with you on it. It just concerns me more that this AI will be used against us. So when they're talking about, it'll be able to see potholes. Hello, I can see potholes. We can all see potholes. But what they're talking about, that AI tracking the roads and seeing the cracks and doing all that, that won't just be used for that.
I'll take it one step further. Assisted dying.
You reckon?
Oh, absolutely.
I don't agree with you on that, but you know I don't.
I don't agree with that, but that's the way it's going to go. Your medical record's up. Assisted dying, yeah. Get rid of her. Get rid of.
Well,
get
that
rid
won't
of her,
be
get rid of
won't
her.
be assisted dying. That'll be murder. I mean, that's slightly.
He's already removed
let's
the
not go
winter
there.
fuel.
We've
He's already
argued
murdering people.
already about that.
He's already murdering people.
What, Starmer?
Yeah, the granny embalmer.
I don't think we can call him a murderer. I don't think we can do that.
You didn't, I did. It's my opinion.
Okay. Right, let's have a look at the papers for Tuesday, shall we?
Can we not chat away?
I know, well, most people would rather we chatted away, to be honest. Labour law threatens customers' free speech. Now, this is pubs could start to ban customers from speaking about contentious matters such as religious beliefs or transgender rights over fearing falling foul of Labour's workers' rights reforms. So if you're having a conversation, banter in the pub, banned by Labour's customers' free speech law. It'll be considered harassing staff if they don't like what you're talking about.
Exactly. If they're offended by something that I say, or you might say in a pub.
Most unlikely.
Oi, you, shut it. He's my mail back. Not that wasn't my meal back, that was giving my mal back. So, no, I mean, this is just horrific. I'm going to discuss a bit of Gen Zs in a minute in your next segment. But that is all that's going to take. They're going to be triggered, aren't they?
Yeah.
You say something wrong and they'll be like, oh, you can't say that.
I know. But this is while we're out in the pub. But in Scotland, there's already this free speech law that was brought into Scotland.
Did you hear the big news in Scotland today?
What?
You'll never believe this.
Your
Never
friend
in a month of Sundays.
Nicola.
She's
divorcing her husband. Who saw that coming? Before he goes down the legal pan.
Well, not just. They just wonder what the marriage was all about. Just saying.
Well, listen.
And who she's been living with now.
There are lots of questions, mind you.
Are you going like that for your lavender beard? Is that what you're doing?
But no, in Scotland, of course, you can be in your private home, tell a rude joke, which you and I would never do. Never do.
Because your son loves me more than he loves you. And I would never scandalise him.
Then if somebody doesn't like that joke, they can report you.
Yes.
That's already happening in Scotland. So this is a similar thing now, that even in our private conversations with friends, you go to the pub in the old days, you talk politics, you go, yeah, whatever.
Well, you would.
You wouldn't be allowed to do that now.
Why is everything being sanitised? Why is everything being homogenised? Why is everything, Petrie, being globalised? That's the thing.
That's the thing.
That's the
Well, listen, I
sinister
just think
thing.
this is it is absolutely
It's just bonkers.
outrageous.
I mean, as if pubs
Just
aren't
because
on
you
the
don't
knees
agree with
anyway.
somebody, it doesn't mean you should be upset about it. To grow up.
Grow up and stop overarching and stop over...
Being pathetic.
Yeah,
I think.
you're being pathetic. Pathetic, a lot of you. Now, give him my drink.
Stop being offended.
I know.
Anyway, that's on the front of the Times. PM says Reeves will stay till next election. I don't
Famous
think
last
so.
words?
Yeah. The opposite will happen with Keir, as we know. Can't steer Keir.
Free gear, Keir. Well, we can't say that. Might allude to if I'm having a drug
They might
problem.
upset him. Anyway, because he said that, but there's loads of people on the back benches, of course, really growling about her, and they're not beavers either, and they're not.
Oh, that's it. Yeah,
Oh, no.
First ding, 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 ding on Twitter. Madame Charlotte, Purple Dawn 1973, is out with the beaver again.
Brilliant. We love them. Is it an angry one?
No, it's one standing up giving it. Oh, yeah, furious. Yeah, it's the
An
angry
angry
one.
beaver. Yeah, it's my favourite. Right, we go.
Maybe tell Nicola started now then.
Oh, let's take a break before we get fired. Claire and I will be back in just a moment.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hi there, great to have your company as Claire Muldoon and Petrie. Say that because it's radio as well. Go through the papers for Tuesday. And actually, it's interesting because a lot of the papers are choosing very different front pages, which clearly indicates, again, that Keir Starmer's speech didn't land in the way that he wanted it to. Yeah. I just want to read this out. Petrie, I have to say that both yourself and Claire Muldoon are looking fabulous tonight. I thought for a second I'd accidentally gone on to Babe Station. I think I'm on the turn, he says.
Oh, that has to be Gary.
That's Gary in Glasgow. Great show. And he said, as for Nicola Sturgeon, I hear she's a fan of both you and Claire's favourite animal. I'll say no more.
Well, I did allude to that, Gary. You nicking my jokes now, love.
Right, The Guardian for Tuesday.
You like a furious beaver, don't you?
I do like an angry one, yeah. Starmer backs Reeves and warns of ruthless public spending cuts. I don't know if you saw Reeves in PMQs last week. She looks absolutely knackered.
She looks done in.
Yeah, she really does.
And she will look worse coming back from China.
Yeah. China. Rachel Reeves will remain Chancellor until the next general election. Keir Starmer has insisted.
The general election currently is planned for August.
Yeah, well, the next one, anyway, I don't believe a pound of that. Revealed.
Oh, can you say that though? What's that? Pound's worthless now, Petrie.
Oh yeah.
Like, you know, you don't believe a what of it?
I don't believe a dollar. No, that's not doing too well either, is it? A euro.
Doing better than
doing better than a pound. Pregnancy risk. As apps replace the pill, women in England and Wales are increasingly ditching the pill in favour of fertility tracking apps, risking a rise in unplanned pregnancies. Researchers highlighted a shift in attitudes towards contraception in the past 5 years, from more reliable hormonal options such as the pill and the implant to less reliable fertility awareness-based methods.
Right, so that's a lot to unpack there, but we have to bear in mind it is The Guardian, and they've kept their opinion on the front page as if it's part of the research. Now, the pill, the contraceptive pill, is a drug, and lots of young girls especially are put in it either for acne or for, to stop them ovulating, basically, and preventing a risk. I would far rather women knew the cycles of their bodies so that they were not chemically changed. And there's been research, a lot of research done to say that if women are attracted to someone whilst they're on the pill, when they come off the pill, they find them not as attractive as they once did. It can alter them that much.
But there is a section here that says, well, further research is needed to understand the reasons behind the change. The trend away from hormonal contraception corresponded to a rise in abortion rates, with wider implications for healthcare services.
Look, abortions are on the increase in this country faster than anything, and it's nothing to do with these apps. It's just purely and simply down to the fact that the couple or the woman didn't want to go through with the pregnancy. That's it.
But if
and
they
say there's
be getting pregnant if they were on the pill?
They say, no, you still can.
But it's 1%.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
But, well, look, that's just the research they're saying.
If it's used and works properly, because I've never been on the contraceptive pill, I don't agree with it.
And you've got 4 children.
I wanted 4 children, and I planned for that with natural family planning.
But is that anything to do with your religion?
A bit. I mean, because I don't think I can take Catholicism out of who I am, because I am a Catholic.
No, that's fair enough, but I just wonder if that was your decision to not...
Yes, it played a big part in the decision.
Right. Okay. Just wondered. No need to get...
I'm not.
Right, let's move on. This is
there's no
really...
woman in the inn now, so it's fine.
That inn is closed, doesn't it?
That woman's clothes. Board it up. All out.
I loved this story, I have to say. We're on the Independent now, and Harry and Meghan have been branded disaster tourists and ambulance chasers by Hollywood star. Honestly, I saw the images of Meghan giving people hugs, and you're going, they don't need a hug, they need a house to live in, or they need money, or they need food. And you've got people like Jennifer Garner just there going, don't take any pictures of me, I'm just handing out drinks and I'm helping people, I don't want this to be publicised. And these two, and there's a lot of the people there going, what are you doing here? Being shown around the disaster like your politicians. What are you? Go away. They haven't done themselves any favours with this, have they?
Do they ever? Surprised she didn't whip out our cookery stuff and start.
Oh, she's delayed that now till March.
Oh, actually, why?
Because the fires
are
taken.
Is his birthday not in March?
No, this is to do with there's not enough publicity around because of the fires. Apparently,
for goodness sake.
I know.
What a narcissist.
I know, what can you say? Israel and Gaza on the brink of peace. Now, this is a big story, but it would have meant more if we hadn't been here before, in a sense. Mediators offer both sides a final draft of ceasefire deals as pressure ramps up for a truce before Donald Trump takes office, which is a week today. So do we think they're going to pull it off in a week?
I don't know, and it's slightly worrying that was it 6,500 Palestinian children, women and children, and have been killed since October the 7th of over a year ago, and it's just awful. I mean, I hope that it will, but my heart's saying I hope, but my head's saying no.
No, well, I don't think either really are ready to cede.
Why is the Independent the only one that's running this for a start?
Well, I mean, it did come out. I mean, he did. When was that speech that happened earlier? It would just, I don't know. The Independent likes to go its own way, doesn't it? And I think there was a speech, but it didn't really say that much. And we've been here before. So.
But it's interesting that the United Arab Emirates, Qatar and Doha are taking quite a stand in this. And I was on with Johnny Gold on Christmas Eve, actually. He was standing in for you. And he said that there's 2 synagogues in the United Arab Emirates now.
Oh, really?
He said it's phenomenal. The crossover between Jews and Arabs now, you'd never have seen that 5 years ago, 10 years ago. But hopefully now, in the spirit of justice and peace, this might be prevailing. And isn't it interesting as well that they actually want to open up talks before Trump's inauguration?
Yes, exactly. Well, he said all hell will break out,
you know,
if it's not done before. I'm very cynical about it, but there you go.
I can understand why.
The Metro for Tuesday, innocent monster. Now, this is a really interesting case, I think. This is this young woman who killed herself, and she left a suicide note accusing her fiancé of being her murderer because he coercively controlled her and he abused her, and he's been found guilty in a court of law for that. And the CPS asked the jury to consider a manslaughter charge because she'd written this note saying, I'm killing myself, but he did it. He killed me because he made my life so miserable and so horrible. But he's been found innocent of that, of the manslaughter charge, but was found guilty of abuse and coercive control. He didn't get very long in jail. What do you think about this? The idea that somebody is guilty almost by association of manslaughter. Was he guilty of her death?
He was, in my view.
Yeah.
He absolutely was. He was the driving force for that young, innocent mother taking her own life. How much in despair do you have to fall for you to do something like that? To leave a cherished baby? But if the only thing better than that is death because of the way that your partner behaved towards you?
Well, in his defence, he said that she had a lot of mental health issues, had tried to kill herself before, and that the only times that she was hurt or injured or whatever was him trying to prevent her from hurting herself. Now, that was his defence, and the jury clearly bought that. But it's an interesting prospect, isn't it, that in future, that if you are an abuser and your partner dies at their own hand, that you could well be charged with manslaughter. And I agree with that manslaughter
Again,
charge.
it goes back to safeguarding, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Who was there to safeguard and support?
Yeah, some of the police are in trouble for this because they didn't take her seriously. I mean, I don't know if you've seen some of the body-worn camera footage of this young woman. It's terrifying. She's got bloodied face and she's telling the police, and we don't see all of it, so I don't know the outcome of those conversations. Well, the outcome of those conversations is she was left in the home with this man. But then on the other hand, if she didn't want to leave or try to leave, I don't know what more the police could have done.
But isn't that coercive control, where you're unable to leave?
Absolutely.
When you're unable to walk through that door,
and you're told
to your freedom.
Yeah,
you're told you can't do that.
Yeah,
You're
but
told
also you're mentally locked behind that
Yes.
door. You're not
Yes.
perhaps not physically, but mentally.
Mentally.
Yeah. It's horrific, and it's such a tragic story. And I, you know, part of me wishes that the jury, just for the sake of other people, really, but he was found to be not
What was the
guilty of
sentence?
manslaughter. I think it was about 4 years. It wasn't very much. Yeah, can we just look that up?
Ryan
I think it was
Wellings
3.5 years, 4 years.
Blew his new girlfriend a kiss. How could you be a new girlfriend
Yeah.
of someone like that?
She said Kiana, the young lady who killed herself, left a note saying, "I was murdered. Ryan Wellings killed me. He ruined every bit of strength I had left. I had a future that was taken away from me." And it is absolutely awful and tragic, and it's just, I think, legally very interesting to see what will happen in the future.
Well, there will be more deaths in the future, and there will be more
Unfortunately.
court cases.
Yeah. Claire and I have got to take a break, but we will be back in just a moment. Don't go anywhere.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hi there, it's Talk Now, and it's Petrie and Claire Muldoon going through Tuesday's papers. Right, so the Ryan Wellings, found guilty of assault and coercive control, but cleared of manslaughter, will be sentenced on the 16th. I thought he already had been sentenced, but I read somewhere about 3 or 4 years. But anyway, just to clear that up, the Daily Star, who are... the Prime Minister gives his embattled Chancellor the dreaded vote of confidence, and they ask the question, should we be popping out for another lettuce? And they have a very disturbing image of a lettuce with Rachel Reeves' hair and really scary eyes.
It's an iceberg lettuce turned upside down.
Yeah.
It looks as if it's still
Truss
wrapped
was an
in silk.
iceberg as well.
Yeah.
I think she was an iceberg.
And the wig looks very Rachel from Accounts-ish, as do the eyes. In fact, I think it's a great... They've even tried to mask in an O's in there.
Yeah, they've done well.
Fab. It's really... And it looks as tired as she did at PMQ last week, doesn't it?
It's
Looks a bit
spookily like
limp.
her. I know. The odds on the Daily Star needing another lettuce shortened today after Keir Starmer gave Rachel Reeves his full backing. and insisted she wouldn't be sacked. Uh-oh.
Psycho scumbag chatbots to save Britain.
This is the AI story, isn't it? And they're saying that a lot of the AI is programmed by...
Look at the thought of the day from the Daily Star. Read that out.
Oh, that is good.
Oh, it's good, isn't it?
It's good. Will Rachel Reeves remain? That's very good. We like that a lot. So
Let us discuss another one.
This is the Daily Star. We love you, Daily Star.
We love you, Daily Star. Never change.
Never change. Right, the eye. Now, this is interesting because this sort of went away and then has now come back, because I was considering doing it as a phoner and I thought, this has gone away. And this was, I think it was on Friday, there was a suggestion that welfare benefits, particularly disability benefits, are set for a massive cut. And this is now on the front of the eye. It says, benefits face cut as Number 10 admits nothing is off the table in the search for new savings. As we were saying last week, they've run out of money now.
Yep.
It's gone. It's gone. I think there's about £1 billion left. That's it, of the 22.7 billion that they borrowed. That's disappeared in interest payments now. And she's now turned around and said, right, we've got to cut everything. We've got to cut stuff. Although, again, Keir Starmer didn't admit to that when he was chatting about AI. But benefits now face cuts. Cuts to disability benefits bill is on the agenda amid an expected rise to 35 billion by the end of this parliament, as growing cost of borrowing threatens to wipe out Rachel Reeves' headroom. Cabinet ministers say they've been ordered to make ruthless savings to balance books. Now, what they won't do, of course, is sack loads of civil servants that aren't necessary. And what they won't do, of course, is cut MPs' expenses or stop them from having, 2 houses all paid for by us. That's what they won't do. They won't reduce their pension or their pay rises. But what they will do is try to take money off disabled people.
Yeah, because they don't care.
They don't care.
They really do not care.
Yeah.
For a party that's supposed to be underpinning socialist values, they're doing absolutely nothing to help the common good or the greater good of this country. They really aren't.
It's extraordinary, isn't it, really?
I don't think they benefit. I really don't think anyone is benefiting at all, apart from illegal immigrants getting put up in hotels at a cost of, what, 8 million?
A day. And also being first in the queue for NHS stuff as well. It is... If they... I keep thinking they can't... Surely they can't go ahead with cutting disability benefits. Surely they can't. Surely it won't happen. Surely they can't do it. But look, if a government that can take money away from the old and the vulnerable just before winter, pretty much can do anything.
They don't care.
I don't think they do.
They really do not care. Where is the new policy? Where is the new economics? Where is the new, look, this is the situation, right? We're not stupid people. Let's have a round table. Let's thrash this out, because it's not easy for anybody out there, let alone especially us here in Britain, paying the highest amount of energy bills, and that's not going to get any easier, is it? And we've got the
highest trains, highest tubes, everything. Yeah.
Why can't they sit and work out reasonably?
And the highest level of taxation.
What on earth is going to happen? They should be encouraging small and medium enterprises and businesses.
Oh, that's the next thing they're going to do, is go after corporation tax on these small and medium-sized businesses, apparently.
But that is squeezing the middle.
Well, they're kicking the rich, squeezing the middle, and doing something downwards on the poor.
Yes.
It just doesn't seem to me.
Yeah.
Who are they helping? Who are they themselves?
That's the big question. Who are they there for? And I want everyone that voted for them to stand up and give me a reason why they did it. Why did you vote for them?
I mean, honestly. And
say that in a pub, you might be arrested, because you might offend a Gen Z that voted for them.
Mind you, wasn't there a story saying that Gen Zers now don't want democracy?
Yes.
Yes. Did you see that?
Yes.
They don't want democracy. They want strong leaders.
They want strong leaders.
They can't be bothered they don't want to vote.
They don't want to vote.
So they want rid of... And that's between the age of 18 and 45.
Well, that's not a Gen Z.
Well,
Gen
that's
Z
the
18
age,
to 27.
That's the age group that they're giving.
The polled.
Don't want democracy.
They just don't want any. They just don't want to think.
They don't want to have to think
just
themselves.
want to exist.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know any of them because my 4 Gen Zs are bang on the money and they're diligent and they're resilient and they've got wonderful virtues.
And they work hard.
And they work really hard.
Where did they get all that from?
Moi.
Yeah, right. The Daily Express. It's now my life, my children's life and my grandchildren's future at stake. Dairy farmer Rowe, 74 years old, on the great distress of Labour's
here's a difference in papers. If that were the Sun even, but definitely the Daily Star, future at stake, stake would have been spelled S-T-E-A-K.
It would have been.
It would have been.
They
missed a trick there.
If they're dairy farm,
the
if they are.
Express missed a trick there.
They missed a trick. Oh, goodness me. The Daily Mail. Woo. 2 lame ducks. There is that picture of Rachel from Accounts.
Oh, they've made her look really bad.
But no, that's what she looked like in that's taken, I think, in the House of Commons. That's at PMQ. She looks knackered. I mean, not surprising. It's not an easy job, is it? But Keir Starmer was struggling to contain turmoil in the Treasury last night as pressure mounted on Rachel Reeves and her deputy, Tulip Siddiq. As the pound took another battering on the financial markets, the Prime Minister was forced to throw a protective arm around his embattled
Isn't it
Chancellor.
funny? Isn't it funny she's not now referred to as the first ever female Chancellor of the Exchequer? Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Have you not noticed that?
Yeah, they've stopped crowing about that one.
Come on. And at the time they started it, I was like, for goodness sake, that's so anti-feminist.
I agree. Shut up.
Just shut up.
Couldn't agree more. But this corruption probe on Tulip Siddiq, of course, there is an inquiry going on, so we've got to be careful what we say. But a lot of people have been saying, look, no matter what the outcome, really, is she now damaged goods in terms of corruption?
Look, of course she is. It's a bit like Barry Gardner and the Chinese and the rest of it. Come on.
Yeah, this does not look good, does it?
It's not a good optic at all. Again, it goes back to Morgan McSweeney. What on earth is being done in comms in Downing Street at the moment?
I have no idea.
Where are they?
I don't know.
I've never witnessed.
I think they're too busy doing their homework for school. They haven't got time to...
uploading the pictures onto AI.
Or complaining about being bullied.
Can't get an answer. Computer said no.
Yeah.
Or working in
my
pubs.
boss asked me to do some work and I feel bullied. That's what it is.
Yeah.
All crying. Not doing their homework. Look, it is... it's already unravelling, but it is going to unravel further. But we're going to take a quick break now because we're not 2 lame ducks. But we've got to take a break. Claire and Petrie will be back in a moment.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hi there. It's good to have your company as we go through the newspapers. So it's Petrie and Claire Muldoon going through the papers. This one, Andrew from Salisbury said, let's make Monday night Muldoon Monday every week. It would cheer me up, actually.
It would cheer everyone up.
Well, I'm not... No, we can't speak for everyone.
Oh, okay. Malbec Muldoon Monday.
Yeah, exactly. Did you drink that Malbec
Yeah,
yet?
Tom and I
Wasn't
had
it
it.
Nice?
It was lovely.
Really nice.
Lovely.
Really good one.
And we opened it up.
Very nice.
Yeah, and we actually watched the first episode of Lockerbie.
Oh, did you? Was it
We
good?
did. Yes, it's very well done. My niece worked on it, actually, so I had a vested interest. But no, it's very, very good.
Yeah, I was thinking of looking at that.
And Tom actually enjoyed it, and he's like, oh, yeah, Mum, I like this Malbec. Tell Petrie I like it. He's gone back to Newcastle now.
Has he?
Yeah. I cried.
Did you?
Bloody well did. I don't know what's wrong with me. Steph's still here, obviously, from Australia, and she was like, you never cried when I went back to university.
What can I say? It's your son. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not going to say any more in case anybody else is listening, but I get it. This one, there's a message here from somebody called Catherine. It says, hi, guys. Harry and Meghan still think they're part of the royal family, but on their terms. So they go around assuming their presence will help. Complete narcissists.
Yeah.
I mean, a hug
Catherine,
from her.
I agree
I'd be like,
with
why?
you.
Oh, honestly. I'm wasting time.
She's like a matchstick. You hug her and she'd snap.
I wouldn't want her to hug me. I'd be like, stop being patronising. Anyway, is Claire Muldoon related to Spotty Muldoon?
Oh,
I don't know who Spotty Muldoon is.
Pretty original one.
Who's Spotty Muldoon?
Oh, I don't know. Is that Spotty Muldoon was a character from the Backstreet Kids? No, the Bash Street Kids.
Bash Street Kids.
Yeah, perhaps.
Oh, maybe.
I think
I don't
maybe.
Know. I don't know. Anyway, what stories have you found?
Okay. So I have found anxious Gen Z call in the experts to change a light bulb.
I saw this.
£1,300 Gen Z is a year will spend on maintenance for their houses, for the flats, whatever.
And for their cars, apparently. They can't pump up their tyres.
Like, what?
Yeah, they can't put air in the tyres.
They can't change plugs. They can't do anything completely. No.
But when we were younger, we would buy stuff that didn't have plugs on them. Do you remember? You had to go and buy a plug and you had to wire it in.
No.
Oh, I was going to be a rude sign then, but I forgot I was on telly. I was taught how to...
how to wire a plug.
We used to take plugs off, like if you ran out of plugs, so you'd take a plug off somebody's hairdryer to put it on something else and use it, and then they'd come and say...
dire. Health and safety.
Oh, no problem with that. You just leave them without a hairdryer.
My first ever physics class in high school, we did plugs. Yeah. We knew the green was... I can't even remember. Was it brown and yellow and green?
And red.
No, that's the colours of a rainbow.
No, and red. It's the live
red
wire.
Wasn't in the plug. Was that the live one?
There's an earth.
It was earth, live. Live was green, was it not? I can't remember. Anyway, we did. That was one of the first things we did.
Well, but they've got people coming in to change light bulbs.
Yes, they do. They're not
confident to change a light bulb.
They just don't know how to. They don't know how to get the bulb in.
But, I mean, how difficult is it to figure it out?
Young adults are increasingly hiring people to do basic DIY, such as changing a light bulb or cleaning their car, according to Halfords. Oh, cleaning their car? 21% of Gen Zs did not know what a spanner was.
Well, they are the spanners, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Just look in the mirror.
And 10%, can you believe this? 10% said they would call in a professional to hang a picture.
That is horrifying. That is really bad. But I was reading about this earlier, and they said it's probably because of all these DIY disaster programmes.
Not knowing a spanner from a screwdriver.
I know, they don't know a flathead screwdriver.
A flathead or a Phillips.
Yeah.
My goodness me.
I mean, seriously, why haven't they been taught?
I mean,
Although my son rang me the other day and said, there's something wrong with the boiler. And I said, have you checked the water on it? And he said, how do I do that? And I told him. And he went, yeah, it's quite low. And I said, just top it up.
Top it up.
Yeah, it's fine. You don't need to call anybody out.
I thought
just
most
top
of
it up.
them went to Google now to find out how to do things.
Well, that's what I do. If I need to fix something, I go onto YouTube, actually.
That's why at your age you're only spending £230 a year on maintenance.
I do all my own.
Oh, well, you're free.
Yeah. I'm free. But mind you...
You're free. Are you free?
Well, actually, I'm just cheap.
Nicola.
I pay myself in wine, which is fine. But I tell you,
You did your wall?
Yeah, I did my wall, decorated that wall.
Yeah, you did.
The tiny little silver,
they're
silver
gorgeous.
squares. Thank you. And fixed my dishwasher when the heating valve broke. I went onto YouTube, bought the piece. Very proud of myself for doing that.
I'm proud of you for doing that.
Took it all apart. Fixed it.
Wow.
Now it's working.
Wow.
I mean, the machine actually tells you what's wrong with it. It says fault number 9, and then you just Google that, and you go, fault number 9, it's the heating valve, and then you go onto YouTube, and this guy will go, here's how you refit a heating valve.
Wow.
And it was complicated, but yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. And I don't understand why people don't... They get a professional in to hang a picture.
I mean, but the professionals are... I mean, these DIY people are making a mint. These handy
I might go into it. My spare time. Go around with my drill.
Pump up the jam. Pump it up.
Can you imagine me turning up doing your plumbing? Actually, I do want to take a course in electrical fitting.
Don't go
like
to an obs and gynae class to do someone's plumbing, for goodness sake.
No, I'm not going to do that. But I did fancy an online course in...
I'd love to be a midwife, I think.
Oh, my God.
What?
You'd be going, stop moaning, get on with it. Wouldn't you?
Yeah. The heads are all the same size. Heads are all the same size. It's got nothing to do with the weight of the baby.
Just push.
Push.
While I go out for a drink.
Do you want to talk?
You'd be the worst.
I'd be
midwife.
I'd be a great midwife.
You'd be horrible.
I would not be.
They wouldn't get a hug from you, would they?
Oh, of course they would.
Not.
I'd pop the champagne. I'd be lying there, Lily and Gift, and they'd be still pushing.
Oh, Scotty Muldoon had his own radio show in the 80s. There you go, just so you know. He wasn't the Bash Street Kid.
Scotty Muldoon did, not Spotty.
Not Spotty. Oh,
you see?
Oh, I see. I've deleted that one.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Maybe they got the name wrong. I don't know. Anyway, what else have you found apart from useless Gen Zers?
State pupils may have to drop their Latin after funding's pulled. Right. So I've got a bit of a bee in my bonnet about this because I think Latin, the classics, should be taught in all schools because it is the stem of our language, of Greek, of most languages and English as well. It's all stemmed from Latin, and there's a vast swathe of humanities that stem from Latin as well. And if a child goes to read the classics or philosophy or even economics as well, or Greek mythology, any of the classics, everything is based in Latin, on Latin, and I think it's terrible. And I think it's actually quite, in terms of social strata, what's the word I'm looking for? It disregards those of comprehensive schools and saves it for the elite.
Yeah.
Yes, which isn't right.
Languages, I was reading something recently saying that being able to speak a language or understand a language is going to be something of the past because of all these translation things that can simultaneously translate, and we'll just have them in our ears and be able to...
It's not about translating Latin, it's about knowing verbs and grammar and everything. Latin's a beautiful language. It really is. And there's a lot... You can say it's a dead language. It's been dead for how long? I mean, that's fact. However, our law, our legal system, our medicine, our pharmacies...
But that will change.
Don't say
It'll all be dumbed down.
Well, they don't need to take the privilege...
Gen Zers don't even know how to fix a light bulb,
They
let alone do anything else.
need to remove Latin from state comprehensive schools to make it even more elite.
Well, they have to make room for their classes on how awful the English are.
Oh, yeah. And decolonisation and how bad the Brits have been.
Yeah.
And how you really ought not to be happy
to be British.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that takes time.
Well, it doesn't take that much time because a new net zero school is closed before it opens.
I know, this is a disaster, isn't it?
Isn't it?
They built this massive school to
Primary
net zero
school.
and it will never open because there aren't enough pupils in that area.
Yeah, in the area, because it's basically a new town. Now, in order to build a new... This was clearly built under Conservatives, right? This is not a Labour issue, OK? This is an issue with levelling up, and they didn't level anything. They have not performed due diligence. The town planners haven't got the right set of people in these houses because they were marketed for single people, newly got together couples, and older people.
No children.
Where are the children
These
to go
are
to the
idiots.
school?
And who's paid for that? We have. And who's going to be punished for it? No one.
Well, it was done under the guise of these academies, but then if the academy's not promoting it by sending in the 20-odd staff that it had to do for the 220 pupils that aren't there, it's ridiculous.
They couldn't run a bath, could they?
Who couldn't? Department of Education.
Yeah, Department of Education, all of them. Rubbish.
One other council, Sutton Council, Sutton Local Authority, is not allowed to ask you what your Christian name is.
What, has it got to be your first name?
Yes.
Oh.
I think that's awful. I really, really do. I really, really, really do. They can't say younger people. They can't say... it's just woke... rubbish!
But we don't need to worry about being called younger people, so we don't have to worry about that. Oh, if you could see the way she's looking at me. Claire Muldoon, take your angry beaver and leave, because we've run out of time. So thank you very much indeed, Claire, for coming in. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. No, thank you.
No,
really.
No, honestly. Thank you.
Coming up, it's going to be AI time, and we're talking artificial intelligence because that's what's going to be running all of our lives coming in the future, the very near future, if Keir Starmer has got anything to do with it. Now, he is getting prepared to hand over all of our NHS data. This is an absolute minefield for these AI companies. It is incredible having all that information on us from the cradle to the grave. It's going to be given away or sold, who knows, to AI. Are you happy with that? Do you trust this government or any government with that level of information that is out there on you? I want to hear your views on this. Give me a call, 0344 499 1000, and you can text the word talk and then your message to 87222. I'll speak to you in just a moment.
UK. On DAB+. On your smart speaker. On your smart TV. And on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, and a very good morning to you. It is Petrie here with you for the next hour. Sorry, this earpiece. Oh! I miss the old days of just headphones. I really miss it. But anyway, technology moves on, I suppose. It just doesn't fit properly. Anyway, what I want to talk to you about in this hour, I want you to have your say on. And this hour is dedicated to you. There's nothing else. There's no guests. There's nothing. It's unlike every other show on this station who don't clear an hour just for your calls. That's what we do on this programme. It is entirely clear, right? This is for you to talk back, to have your say on the things that have been discussed all through the day. You might be able to phone occasionally and get in here and there. This is a full hour dedicated to your voices, and I want to hear your views on the important topics that are discussed. And this one, I don't think it could be more important. And that is the question of AI, artificial intelligence, and how much we hand of ourselves over to it. Now, Keir Starmer yesterday did this speech about AI, and it's going to be the forefront of everything. It's going to be great. And he's going to hand over all this data from the NHS. He was asked at least twice whether he planned to sell that data. He refused or didn't answer that question, a very specific question put by two extremely good journalists. He didn't answer it, which leads me to believe that not for the first time, your NHS data and my NHS data is up for sale. Now, there's no greater resource probably in the world than what the NHS has got on each of us, on every single person in a country, from cradle to grave. Your whole life tracked through the NHS. Every time you see a GP, from when your child is born, the GP, everything that ever happens to you in terms of your life is in that resource. Everything. And the idea that this can be anonymised is absolutely untrue, because to make that information of any use whatsoever, certain things must be known. Your age has to be known. There's no point saying that somebody had a heart attack. They might have been 12 years old. That is significant, right? That's significantly important to that health data, is the age of the patient. So your date of birth will not be anonymised. The conditions that you suffer from will not be anonymised because they're important to the data is worthless without it. The area that you live in will not be anonymised because that, again, is important information. Your social standing will not be anonymised because, again, that is important. The difference between somebody living in poverty and eating really bad food to somebody living in wealth and eating really good food is vital information on your health records. So please, not for 1 second, believe that this stuff will be anonymised. What they're saying is they basically take your name off it. But other than that, everything else is pertinent. It's important. It matters. It's of value to that data. And like I said, without it, that data is pretty worthless. Because if it's an 87-year-old having a heart attack to a 21-year-old having a heart attack, that makes a difference to that medical outcome, right? So what's he going to do with this? Now, it's not the first time our medical data has been sold. There was a deal done, concerns about a £330 million contract for data sharing in the NHS awarded to a US company. called Palantir. That was at one point. And in 2015, there was a deal between an NHS trust and an AI company called DeepMind. Fell apart when it granted access to the confidential medical records of 1.6 million patients without their knowledge or their consent. This data is a gold mine. It's a gold mine, right? What's it going to cost? And how much of that will stay safe? Again, Keir Starmer said, well, I can guarantee we're going to keep control of it. You and I both know that is absolute horse truffle, whatever that word is. Just made that up. Quite like it. Because once it's out there, it's out there. How do you control it once an AI company has got it? And what happens to that AI company? Are they going to sell it to an insurance company who's going to see that you once had a heart attack 7 years ago and is going to go, well, don't insure them to drive? Blimey. We don't know. And that's the point. And I have to look at the worst case scenario because that is my fear. And my fear is also when we're told how marvellous AI will be, and it will be, it can be, but it can also be a force for bad. It can also be used against us. And in fact, it already is, and we know it is. So all of these things have to come with some moral attachment to them. And look, don't take my word for it. Earlier, I was talking to the futurist Mal Fletcher, and I told him I thought the Prime Minister was really quite blasé yesterday about privacy, about our privacy, and equally not answering those questions on whether that data from the NHS is up for sale. Here's what he said.
Our Prime Minister sounds blasé, I think, even when he's not. But just the other day, I happened to be speaking with an MP about AI, and he told me quite honestly he didn't know much about it, but was eager to learn more. And he's not alone. You only have to look at the questions MPs ask in parliamentary committee sessions to see how little most of them know about the ethical issues that AI raises, like data privacy, and how quickly AI is actually developing. And now, today, we're being asked to believe that this government can guarantee our privacy, as you were saying. It's wanting to open its data banks to AI developers, and we're being asked to believe that big tech can and will basically regulate itself when it comes to AI. What's more, it seems the government's betting big time on the fact that AI will, at least in the short term, add more than it takes away on the employment front. And we know that techs do lead to new types of work. But with AI, the question is, can we adjust quickly enough to take advantage of those jobs before they're gone too? Now, I'm no Luddite. You and I know each other a bit. I'm an advocate for AI, and I'm pleased the government's prioritising tech. But its plans are pushing way ahead of the capacity of either government or the public to understand AI, or even to talk about how we're going to generate the massive amounts of energy.
There you go. So Mal Fletcher there, who is incredibly sensible. He's not against AI, he's just against the misuse of it. And this is from Anne, and I think this is a really good point. And a lot of people say, oh, you're paranoid. We're not paranoid. This could be an absolute reality. Petrie, I feel that AI will take our health data and work out a health score for each individual based on certain conditions, age, weight, smoking, etc. The score will then be used to determine who gets treatment. The waiting list will be reduced by denying poor scorers that treatment. And already we're seeing that with people with obesity and smokers, people calling for those people to not get the treatment, or they're being pushed around, they're being pushed to the back of the queue. And Anne, I'm with you on that. I think it would be very easy in the future world, and we're not looking that far ahead in the future, where if you do smoke or if you do certain things, that you will be scored lower. And that will also go against your insurance policies. It'll go against every aspect of your life. And that's what concerns me as well. But are you worried about AI? What is it that concerns you about it? Or what do you think it is going to be just incredibly brilliant? I just think if we don't introduce morals to AI, we don't introduce humanity to AI, then we'll always be on the back foot with it. That the human instinct to behave in a certain way will just not be there. Thought, empathy, caring, none of those things will apply. The computer will simply just say no. It's as simple as that. There'll be no arguing with it. There'll be no questioning it. So what do we do? And I am just horrified by the whole notion that they're just going to sell off our NHS data. I really am. Tonya is in Exeter. Good morning, Tonya.
Hi, all right.
Hi.
Yes, hi, Petrie. Yeah, go on.
No, I was just going to say, what concerns you about this AI so-called revolution?
Well, I mean, I don't panic about it simply because but it does concern. But I mean, because they love us to be scared about everything, so I just ignore their scaremongering. But having said that, what you've been saying, first of all, Palantir, you know what that's based on, don't you? The why they call it Palantir.
Why they call it? Sorry, you've muffled your microphone.
Do you know why it's called Palantir?
No.
Because it's from, you know, the Lord of the Rings, the Palantiri, the Seeing Stones in the Lord of the Rings. The Palantiri,
I think you're muffled. Tonya, you're a little bit muffled. I can't really hear you very clearly. Have you got your mouth?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, the Palantiri, the Seeing Stones in the Lord of the Rings. That's what they named it after. Because, you know, it's basically not to directly lie, but to present things in a way to basically mislead, and they take data from everywhere. They know everything about you. So that Palantir is really sinister, and that took over the data dashboard in during the COVID time. It took over the data dashboard of the NHS, and it's still, you know, so it's great, isn't it? But what I rang about was. If you want to find more about that, go on Essays on the Edge on Substack.
I can't, Tonya. We're going to have to do something because I don't know what you're doing with your microphone, but you're sounding I can just about hear you, and that means people are listening on radio wouldn't be able to understand a word.
Can you hear me now?
I can, but whatever you're doing, stay doing that.
Okay. So so what I rang about was basically what you said about the NHS. I see incorrect. Like it's not just that they. I mean, I try and opt out, but obviously you can't really opt out. But because they've got so much wrong information on me, I made complaints. I came to pre-action. I didn't actually come to call yet. It was pre-action because I've had to do it on my own, you know, litigant in person, and I had to take the police to court as well. So I had to concentrate on that first. But under mental health, because I was under mental health for years and years and years. I got away from them now, thank God, because I don't trust them at all. But they've got so much wrong information and serious wrong information, which has caused me mucked up jobs, mucked up my relationships with GPs, mucked up because they've got on there information, for instance, crimes that I haven't committed, and I have proved that I haven't committed, and I've proved and got all the paperwork together because it's not on my, because I've got my records, you can get your DRB, DSB. So I've got it all, and I've given them all the things so they can know they can correct the records, right?
Yeah. And
they don't nothing. I've got nothing. They just won't do anything. They just push you in the direction of court. I mean, why are they doing this? Why don't they just engage with me instead of pressing me? So the amount of trouble I've had with them, the letters, the endless work, and in the end, because I had to concentrate on the police thing, I stopped because I had to take the police to court as a litigant in person. I had to drop the mental health one, and basically... they've still got all this wrong information that they haven't corrected, okay? And some of it's serious. I mean, one of it involves they've got stuff about me with knives, which is totally untrue. I mean, this is what happened. One thing that happened, right, was that several years ago, I was sectioned, onto the mental health act. But before I was sectioned, I was taken into hospital. They took me because I was on a community treatment order. They took me into hospital, and I got assaulted by another girl. So I just left because I hadn't been sectioned at that point. I thought, I'm not putting up with this. I'm going to get out of here. And I went back, and then they wanted to get me back into hospital. So they all came in their van, jumped on top of me, took me back. And I got in to see this psychiatrist, and I said, well, why have you brought me back in here? And she said, oh, you threatened someone with a knife, right? And I said, well, who? And can you still hear me, Petrie?
Yeah, I'm listening. Just listening.
Yeah, I said, well, what do you mean? Who have I threatened with a knife? And she went, I said, well, and she wouldn't say anything. I said, well, you've got to tell me who. Tell me what you're talking about. And she wouldn't say anything. And I said, well, you can't just do it. I said, how would you like it if I said to you friends? And I said, no, say who. Anyway, 6 months later, I was still in that hospital and I hadn't got to the bottom of it, right? Who I'm supposed to have threatened with a knife, okay? And anyway, to cut a long story short, it turns out that I managed to get the paperwork from the place I was staying, which had a care staff there, and they'd written something down, and they'd written down what had happened that evening, and I got this, and what had happened was I'd had an accident, right, so I was on 2 crutches, okay, so I was struggling up and down, and it was one evening, and I was starving, there was no food for me, and I was starving, and I was in a lot of pain, and I'd gone into the kitchen, and the kitchen was totally empty. There was nobody in there. It's a big kitchen. And I'd walked over, and I was in so much pain. I was having a really bad day. And I'd opened the cutlery drawer and just chucked some cutlery on the floor. There was nobody else in the kitchen. And that got translated by the NHS into me threatening somebody with a knife. And that's still in my notes.
Yeah, and that is really concerning. And I think you make an extremely good point about, if the wrong data is stored on you, that follows you around for the rest of your life. And
I've never threatened anyone with a knife. And I'll tell you another thing. I've been a victim of knife crime twice in London, okay, because I'm from London. I've been a victim of knife crime twice. I have never, ever used a knife on anyone. I've used a knife on myself, but I've never threatened anybody with a knife, never anybody else, And there's another instance they've got as well on me where they say that I was in a car with someone threatening with a knife. Again, that's utter nonsense. It was something I was arrested for, but there was no knife involved, and I wasn't in anyone's car, and that's all been proved. They still haven't changed that either. So they've got me down as a knife-wielding maniac, and it's not true. Now, if that gets in the hands of other people, that could affect all. You see what I'm saying?
No. And this is the point, isn't it? If the data even is just slightly out, but in your case, massively out, that once it goes to AI, once it's out there, I mean, already it's hampering you. Already it's had an effect on you.
It already has.
Imagine that going even wider. I mean, it is. For me, it's just terrifying. And I wanted to bring up the Horizon situation. All of that with the post offices and everything. They were going, oh no, this technology, you can't cheat it, you can't Turns out, absolute lies. Yes, it can be. So that's what worries me about any data on us, and all that information being held in one place as well is terrifying as well. It shouldn't be allowed. Tonya, good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed for pointing that out, because I do agree that if there's something slightly wrong about your data, if your data isn't the right data either, and look, all you've got to know is if your credit score, right, if you were accused of not paying a bill or whatever it is, I've been told that it is almost impossible to get that removed from your credit score. And that's just one of these Experian or the other ones, companies, to try and get them to change that. Go, no, I did pay that, and this is a lie, and this isn't true. To try and get that changed is incredibly difficult, if not impossible. So it is possible for the wrong data to be placed on your file, which then affects your entire life. And this is because human beings are not part of that chain. It is all technology, and that's something we should be concerned about. And they want to take human beings out of everything. Teachers now apparently have mark the homework, the children's homework, by AI. I mean, what's the point of that? Where's the human being that can read that and go, oh, I see what you were saying there, but if you said it this way, it would be slightly better, or advising children? No, just let AI do it. That'll be easier. Well, it is easier, but is it right? Human beings need to be part of our lives. Give me a call, 0344 499 1000.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hi there, and what we're talking about this morning is one of the biggest changes to our futures. It couldn't be more important, and that is the use of AI. And we already know that AI does so much, right? We know. And companies, even as big as Apple, have got into trouble for using AI against customers, right? They had to pay a massive fine. AI is already part of our lives, but the more we teach it, the more and more and more it can then teach itself. And if we're going to give away or sell all of that NHS data, it is a goldmine of information from cradle to grave. Every single person in this country has a record of their lives through the NHS, right? And they can't anonymise it, because to anonymise it, it's a difficult word to say, to anonymise it to the point that I would be happy before I would allow them to use mine would make my information worthless, because it needs context. There's no point just saying, this person A has MS, or these are the drugs person A is on, right? Which is all I'd want them to know about me. But they'd have to know my age, my social standing, my postcode, to make it make sense, to be of any value. So it's not very difficult. And the last time they did this, 1.6 million people had their data sold. Their personal, private medical data sold without their permission. I had somebody try to unanonymise it, and in every case, he was able to do that, in every single case. So do we want that out there? And what if that data isn't correct? The message here from Joanna. Hi, Petrie, the data is only as good as the inputter. I went to the GP and I was advised to give up smoking. I don't smoke, but someone had put it on my notes that I smoked. That could have been used against me, as you said, put to the back of the queue for an operation or for insurance, for life insurance, for example. So all of these things are tenuous. And I don't know why there is some idea that this is going to be the great saviour of the world. Used correctly and morally, it can do amazing things. I'm not against AI being used in those ways. What I am against is the idea that any private personal data can be used in this way, and somehow, Keir Starmer has said, somehow he's going to keep control of it. Right? I don't know how that's possible. I mean, we sell our data to an AI company to learn from. That company might sell that data to an insurance company, even if they're told they can't. Right? So how do we keep control of it? Once we've let it go, it's gone. It deeply concerns me. And I don't think we talk about it enough to understand that what we're giving away of ourselves, we can never get back. Just remember that. If we're blasé about it, if we just go, nah, whatever. Once it's gone, it's gone. Once privacy is gone, it is gone. It cannot be raked back. And we're already seeing a loss of privacy, incredible loss of privacy. And we don't care. Seemingly, we don't care. I don't know why we don't care. It's the only thing we've got. We're just reading in the papers for tomorrow that this new freedom of speech law, or lack of freedom of speech law, can see you get into trouble in a pub if you start talking about, I don't know, you hate Keir Starmer, and that offends one of the bar staff. You can get into trouble for that. That'll be reported, and you'll get a hate crime incident against you from the police. Come on. In the pub. These are freedoms that we're just letting go. Ah, well, it will never happen to me. Oh, I've got nothing to hide. I've got nothing to fear. But you do. You have everything to fear, even, especially if you've got nothing to hide. Especially if you've got nothing to hide. Because it's you saying that is letting these people get away with inching away at those freedoms, taking them away from us, which we will never get back. Cindy is in Michigan in the USA. Hi, Cindy. I haven't spoken to you for a while. How are you?
Oh, so good. Petrie, I want to tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
You remind me of someone that would be a really good friend.
Aw.
Like, I wish I was there. I know he'd be hanging out.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. That's
totally
nice.
Petrie.
That's
totally. Well, I want to tell you, this is really dangerous stuff. I feel that your rights in the UK are slowly and very sneakily, like, being taken, stripped away from you all.
Mm-hmm.
That's very dangerous. And with your medical information, that is the most sensitive, critical, or extremely personal information that you have.
Yeah.
That contains, if you had a mental breakdown, if you smoked, if you had a drinking problem, all these things in your history, little things, and then other agencies will, don't mistake, they will get a hold of it, and then they will judge you on that. And that will equal higher prices for your insurance, or maybe we don't want to sell you this house. Maybe we don't want you living in this neighborhood. It's just, there's so many ways, and this should be illegal.
It's like the Chinese social credit work that they're doing. So that, if you're a bad person, you speak against.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
yes,
you can't move out of your area.
That.
Yeah, the social credit visas, if you like.
Your score.
Yeah, your score.
Your social score. Yes, on how you behave in your life.
Yeah.
And that's supposed to, that's judging you right there. And people make decisions based on their judgments. Agencies make decisions based on their judgments. And that can equal higher prices.
But I mean, all we've got to do is just look at the health system that you have in the US, and the way that these companies can refuse your insurance payout based on something you may have done in the past. So that you're already living this.
No, I don't think they've done that yet. I don't think they've done that yet. Where that information is available to other
if you've said to your doctor, for example, I don't smoke.
Health condition.
Yeah, I don't smoke, and then it is discovered that they've got all these people now, they're hell bent on discovering your past, who will then say, no, you did smoke when you were 13, so you signed your insurance documents, and we're not paying it out now.
Well, we have a law called HIPAA, and HIPAA is a law that it makes it illegal to give out your health information.
Mm. Well, we have the Data Protection Act, which isn't going to work. But yeah,
this is dangerous, Petrie, and I don't understand it.
I don't understand why we're not absolutely furious about it. But you get worn down, don't you?
Yeah, and because your rights are like slowly being stripped. I'm seeing it.
Mm. Yeah. I'm with you, Cindy. It's interesting to hear it from you, just being able to see it probably more clearly than we can over here, because, we're being, absolutely drudged down and pushed down. So all we're thinking about, and this is what governments want to do mostly, is keep us so busy trying to put food on our table or lights on in the house that we haven't got time to consider the bigger picture. And that's what they want.
Right.
They want us to be pushed
yes.
down so far that we don't see what everything else is happening.
That's how they do it, and I feel like really this is going to be AI is remarkable, right? But it's going to be the cause of our final end. I know that sounds a little bit paranoid, but they're going to make transhuman people.
Well, they're just going to make us.
Like,
they're just going to control us. I mean, if you've read 1984,
yes.
the idea of chips in your
Yes.
wrist that allow you into certain
Yes.
areas, we're not that far away from that
Right.
now.
Exactly. And then that can determine, okay, now we don't want to sell you food here. Your money's no good.
Exactly.
Because that's how they want to take away cash. They want to, they're being really sneaky about this. And that book is coming true. I hate to say it.
Oh, my God. I mean, I'm just recently
true.
rereading it. I'm like, oh, my God, who's taken this book and is using it as a
Yeah.
plan? That's what's happening, Cindy. Thank you for calling. It's absolutely brilliant. Thank you. It's interesting to hear that from somebody in the US saying, I can see your freedoms being taken away from you. And they are. And we need to be vigilant. Got to take a break, but I will be back in just a moment.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hi there, good morning to you. It's Petrie here with you until 1 o'clock, and we're talking really about the security of our private and personal data. And this is because Keir Starmer announced today that he's getting ready to flog it all our NHS data, all of it, to AI companies. Which AI companies? Don't know. How secure it's going to be? He says, oh, we're going to keep control of it. We know that that's not possible. We know that. So why say it? Because we'll believe it. And I was just talking to Cindy there in the US. And it is true, you know, that the more crushed we are by life, the more we're struggling with, you know, working and paying the bills and, you know, all of those things, the less we care about the bigger picture, the less they know that we will complain. So he's going, yeah, AI, 13,000 jobs not mentioning how many it will take away. All of your NHS data to teach AI how to do stuff in the health service without mentioning, what that will actually cost us. That is our private information. And even if you've got nothing on your private information, but they've got you from cradle till grave. Every single thing is on there, isn't it, really, through the NHS, either your GP or whatever it is, or through hospitals, whatever. It's all there. And will that be used against you? Probably, at some point. It's really interesting that here we go, there's one comment here. Okay, I don't remember giving Starmer free rein to give my medical files to any AI. We weren't asked, and I think it's all a trap to refuse treatment / insurance if they don't like your numbers. And that's from Jeff. And that's where I fear it's going to go. Why wouldn't they use it against us? Why wouldn't big businesses want to know about your history in order to correctly leverage their charges to you on car insurance or on, whatever it might be, home insurance? Oh no, whatever you did this X many years ago, that means it's all there, isn't it? So I agree with that, Jeff. I do, I genuinely do. And I'm not paranoid. I'm not a paranoid conspiracy theorist. This is just what I know to be true from everything else that they've sold about us in the past. And all these companies are clamouring for that information. They desperately want it because it means that they can refuse insurance or refuse to pay out once you've paid your subs and all of that. So we already know that none of these companies are out there to look after us. None of them. Gary says here, what happened to the Data Protection Act? Forget that. It's for sale, apparently. I love this one. Has Keir Starmer ever been put to the Turing test? See, I've heard him in an interview and at PMQs, and I don't think he'd pass. And that's from Tinfoil Hat Dave. And the Turing test, in case you weren't aware, is that I think it's to understand whether you have any humanity, if you're a human being or not. It's a good question. The question of morals, AI will be assigned legal personhood. Unbelievable. And it seems timely that Starmer wants to claim promoting innovation and economic growth as European Parliament's 2017 proposal. Rights above we humans. Extremely worrying. If you care to take a look at the rights and duties assigned to AI, look at it. And that's from Yvonne. Well, this is the thing, isn't it? Let's now go to Jason, who's in Walsall, which is just near Birmingham. Hi there, Jason.
Hi, Petrie. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing? Are you driving again?
Yeah, I'm on my way to Glasgow again.
Oh, will you be careful?
I do it 5 nights a week. I've been doing it for 9 years, love it. So.
Oh, you like it? You enjoy it?
Oh, yeah. I think you've got to be happy in what job you do, ain't you? You know what I mean? So.
That is true. And you get to listen to me 3 nights a week, so...
Yeah, I do. And the other 2 nights I listen to the other guys as well. I enjoy it. It does help my journey, to be honest.
Oh, well, I'm really glad. What do you think about this sort of sell-off of our data?
Well, I think this has been going on for a long time, and I'm doing on the gaming situation, and I mean, I do, in my spare time, I do a bit of gaming, I'm a big kid at heart, but some of the games that you buy nowadays, you've got to give, they're asking for a lot of data before you're even allowed to. Yeah, and it's all part, to me, I think it's pointless. Why are you asking these questions? They ask, do you drink? Do you smoke? What activities do you do? Or what do you do in your spare time? All these sort of questions. And I think, what's this got to do with me wanting to play a game?
Wow.
I mean? Honestly, and there's a lot of people that I see on discussions on some of the gaming forums. They're getting mad about it, but there's a lot more people that are willy-nilly giving that information. You know what I mean? Because they just want to play the game, and that comes down to this Gen Z with the crowd, where it's like, oh, don't worry about it, get on with it, I'll just live my life, I'm happy sitting here, I'll give you all my details, you ain't bothering me. You know what I mean? There's a lot of ignorance to it as well.
No, I agree, Jason, and I've said this for many years as well, that they are grooming young people to give up all their data and all their information on the basis these young people are going, well, I've got nothing to hide, I've got nothing to fear, you know, I'm not doing anything wrong. But it depends who sets those rules, right? Whichever government is in power can set what's right or what's wrong, and what was right yesterday can be wrong tomorrow. So that's always the argument that I find the most annoying, when people say, I don't do anything wrong, I've got nothing to fear. Well, today maybe, but tomorrow what you're doing may be considered wrong. And we are grooming children. The nation, the country, the world is grooming children. These you know, control oligarchs, as they're called, these oligarchs who have got so much money, and Jeff Bezos's and the Musks and all of those, they are just mining data, and they are taking that, and with that they will destroy people's privacy, and that is an absolute certainty. They are doing it for control and to be able to manipulate us human beings, and the young people just think nothing of it. Nothing of it.
It's quite. I mean, I heard a lot of comments. People, oh, why you know, a bit toxic. Some of the times, like, you know, oh, it's not about it, it's not whinging about it, it's not a problem. And it is. They'll catch up with you eventually, because you're too, like, and not being horrible, disrespectful to people. I'm like, you're being quite brain dead.
Yeah.
With all this, you know. I mean, I've woke up recently. I don't buy new games anymore, so I know what it entails. I've got a lot of other games I've got on my library that I play them if I ever get bored at time, like. But I wouldn't not go out and buy these games, because some of these companies are big companies, like Ubisoft, EA Sports and all them, and they're taking all this data. And who are they sharing this data with, or who is giving them...
Exactly.
You know, and
I mean, really, what's it got to do with anybody? You want to play a game, and it's asking you if you smoke, if you do exercise, if you drink, what's that got to do with that? I mean, I find that absolutely extraordinary.
Well, there's a funny story. My mate, he was asked one of these finger surveys to put up the data, and he said to him, like, what do you do in your spare time? And he put down, answer silly questions like these. And they wanted to allow him into the game.
He wasn't allowed in?
He brought the game. He paid 50 quid for the game, and they like, sort of blocked him from playing the game because of his questions, like being sarcastic towards them. I'm like, it's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous.
That is horrifying. And this is all about these social credits that we're going to have to live by. And it's already happening in China. So if people go, no, that won't happen, it can't happen, you know, blah, blah, blah. I mean, all we need is a government that thinks it can get away with anything. Hello. And suddenly we're being told that we have to live in 15-minute cities. Remember that? That was a while ago. And that we can't drive anywhere because they're going to be charging us per mile on top of fuel costs. Yeah, that's coming. Yeah. And they're going to use AI for that. And it's going to be about, you know, being able to move around areas. No, you can't go into that area. It's not that far away. And I'm not being paranoid. We've already seen this in action in other countries. And this is coming here if we're not vigilant.
Yeah. It's like the supermarket scene, as well. You go in a supermarket now and you've got the screen watching you. I know. And that's quite scary. I mean, it's like it's Big Brother to an extreme. You know, and it's like, all I'm coming here, you go, I don't go shopping, and my missus does all the shopping. I hate it, I just don't feel. It's, you know, it's one of the private things that you do at the end of the week or the end of the month. And it just feels like you're being watched even doing that, on what you're spending your money on, what you're buying.
Yeah, and how you move around the store. And they say it's because they want to make it scientific how you move around the store. So you might go to vegetables first, or you might go to something else first, and then back to vegetables. And they want to plot it and plan it. But the reality is they are spying on you. They're watching you.
The reality is they're trying to control us, aren't they?
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, and that's what I firmly believe, Jason, is that for all the good that AI might do, there is a heck of a lot of bad that we've got coming down the pipes, and we're not caring about it.
Definitely.
Well, listen, Jason, you be careful, drive safely, and I'll hopefully get to speak to you soon. I've got to take a quick break. Back in a sec.
the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hi there, this is Talk, and it's Petrie here with you for the next 10 minutes. And then I go home. But before then, we're talking about AI and what that could mean to the future, for the future, to all of us. And that is, you know, loss of privacy, a loss of all of those things that I happen to think are incredibly important. But I know that AI can be a force for good, and I have no doubt about that. And I'm really excited when I see lots of advancements, particularly in medicine with AI. But I think handing over all of our data to AI development companies is the wrong thing to do. I genuinely do. I think that it can't be anonymised to the way that we would want it. And for all the good it can do, I just see a lot of bad. And Ian has said AI just reeks of state control. The people of this country are wise enough to see the downsides of this. Data gathering isn't right. By trying to sell the positive side of AI, it's another effort by Starmer to distract from all the negativity his government is putting out. You know we're in trouble when he makes big Monday morning announcements, especially when he rolls his sleeves up. He didn't roll his sleeves up this time, but he kept leaning on the podium, doing a nice little hand movement. Somebody's obviously told him that's less threatening. I just wanted to... It's ridiculous, but that's from Ian in Hemel Hempstead. AI will be used by Starmer's Stasi to monitor our internet activity, phone calls, emails and private life. There we go. That's the nub of it. Kevin is in Hull. Hi, Kevin. Good morning.
Good morning, young lady.
How are you? Oh, I like that. Haven't been called that for a while. Now, what do you make of this, Kevin?
Different sides of the argument. The wife works in NHS, and she works on night shifts. And basically, I think Petrie is right. I think she's right in the direction she's going. Personally, I think the NHS is more broken than the government would like to admit. Yes. And people are tired. They're tired of going through COVID. They're tired of... It's like a lifeline that is not there. Do you understand that?
Yeah, I totally get it. I think that we've become so used to being able to rely on the NHS, and I don't think we can anymore. No,
I think it's broken. When she says the amount of ambulances that are around the corner and then some, because we've got no beds.
Yeah.
And the thing is, there are elderly. It's mainly elderly with the flu. And, my God, I mean, what do we pay our national insurance for?
I know. And the amount of money that the NHS costs, I mean, it is almost 200 billion a year.
Yeah, I understand.
And it's still not working.
Yeah. No, I understand that. What it is the NHS contract out the cleaning for theatres and whatnot to a private company. If the NHS grabbed it back and said, right, we all work for the trust, that would save them massive, massive amounts of money.
Yeah. And also these privatised companies, what they do then, and this is why cleaning standards have dropped in hospitals, is they outsource it themselves. And then that company outsources itself. So at the end of the day, you've got people doing really important cleaning work in theatres being paid £10 an hour or less. Whereas at the top of the tree...
What are they charging to the NHS?
Exactly.
You know, that person could be above minimum wage.
Yeah.
And cleaning theatre 1, cleaning theatre 2, cleaning theatre 3.
But they're not cleaning them to the standards of the first company that was given the contract. And that's what happens. Yeah.
Absolutely. There was a guy that committed suicide through mercury poisoning. That operating theatre could not be cleaned for 24 hours.
That's bad, isn't it? It's really bad. But is it the answer for the NHS to sell all of our data?
No, it isn't. Because at the end of the day, they have it in the bag. They've got something, and what I feel is it's too little too late.
Do you think the NHS will collapse? It's very close to it now, isn't it?
Yeah, I work in a care home with challenging behaviour, and during lockdown and all that type of stuff, no, I think you're right. I think it is. No, sorry, I'll reframe that from what the wife said. It's already broke. It's broken, but they don't want to advertise the fact it's broken.
Yeah, but I think most people who use it know that, right?
Yes, agreed.
They know it, that we all really know it. We just don't want to admit it.
Well...
And I don't know, all of these new plans that Starmer has got.
The thing is with the government, if somebody actually stood up and said, NHS is broken, we're not doing what we can, what would be the consequences of saying NHS is broken? It's down on its knees, it's broken.
Well, I think the consequences would be horrendous, which is why they won't ever say it, will they? Kevin, thank you for that call. I just want to read this because there are some positives to AI, and I've said that all the way through. I'm not against AI. I'm against using AI to attack the people of this planet, of taking away our privacy, taking away our rights and our freedoms, and they're already being eroded at such speed that we just really haven't noticed it. This is from Jack, who says, Keir Starmer's plans to harness AI for growth could significantly advance healthcare, education and manufacturing if implemented thoughtfully. AI has the potential to transform the UK, creating new growth opportunities and enhancing quality of life. However, it's essential to ensure that the deployment of AI is done ethically and responsibly. This includes addressing concerns about privacy, job displacement, and the need for regulation to protect individuals and communities. Collaboration between the public and private sectors will be crucial in maximising the benefits of AI by fostering partnerships and encouraging innovation. We can create a framework that supports growth while being mindful of its societal impacts. And that's Jack from Eccles in Greater Manchester. And I do agree with that, but there's a lot of ifs and buts there, isn't there? If it's done properly, if we do it thoughtfully, if it's done morally. And the questions that I have is it being done with any thought, really, to what impact it will have on individuals? All these new jobs they're creating, are they going to be enough to replace the jobs that are taken away? I suspect the answer to that is no, because we know